Adam Carolla was amazing. I'm going to talk about that in the beginning, but there's a whole bunch of other things that have come out involving Biden. A lot of big things. All right, here we go.
Scripture every Sunday at 6
Showtime.
On the air since 1977, it's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right, welcome. It is Thursday, August 31st already. Can you believe it? Holy smokes. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977, celebrating 46 years on the radio. Well, as it seems to be the new normal, we have a lot to talk about. We really, truly do. There's a lot to cover today on the program, and I'm going to get to as much of it as possible with your calls. And it's really, really just a crazy news time. Did any of you catch the Tucker Carlson interview yesterday? Holy smokes. Tucker Carlson wasn't doing the interviewing this time. He was interviewed by Adam Carolla, and they talked about Trump and Obama and the media and a whole bunch of things. And this is the most uncensored and unplugged, I'm going to go through this, that I have ever heard Tucker Carlson, ever. And I'm going to go through this, dissect it, and talk about it. You know, Adam Carolla was on The Celebrity Apprentice. Some of you may not remember. He did very good on The Celebrity Apprentice. I can't remember how far he got. I don't think he won. I would remember if he won. But he was very good on The Celebrity Apprentice and pretty interesting. I didn't really know too much about Adam Carolla until I saw him on The Celebrity Apprentice with, of course, the greatest president ever, Donald Trump. But you know, the thing about what we're going through right now, there is such a major change in the way we get information and news going on in this country right now, and it could not be happening at a better time. Here we are really going into, I know people say this after, you know, during every election period, but it is so true. This is the most important election of our lifetime. And they're all important because we're living through it. The past elections might have been important, but that's all settled stuff, right? This is the most important election of our lifetime, literally, though, this time. And I mean that because a decision is going to be made as to whether this country remains free or enslaved, right? I mean, that's what's going on. Are we going to be free or enslaved people? Are we going to live in the matrix and pretend we're free? Oh, no, we're a constitutional republic, and are we? And, you know, what's happened is that, I mean, this has been building for years and years and years, and then there was a moment, and then it's happened big time. And Fox News firing Tucker Carlson was the beginning of a change in news. You know, what's happened now with Tucker Carlson, who's completely independent. You know, we're independent media here. We don't have huge media backers behind us. We're live and local on the radio here. You know, we don't have these huge corporations like News Corp behind us and things like this. And there's a lot of guys like Steve and myself doing this around, and you know, but now we've got these big household name celebrities, and when I say household names, I mean they're known in every household in America, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, and others, who are now going this way of independent, free media. And, you know, people don't understand. I remember Steve and I, we were at, some of you I'm sure remember, it's the longest running radio show. Do you guys remember when we were on 940 Winds in Miami? Oh my goodness. That was such a bad time. We had a program director and a assistant program director who were just, they were insane. They were insane control freaks about every utterance that came out of my mouth, Steve's mouth, sound bites, guest. And they would actually come into the studio during the breaks and say, change the topic. Don't talk about that anymore. Delete that soundbite. I was like a freaking conductor. Meanwhile, the assistant program director, I've mentioned this guy before, This was a long time ago. The internet was new. It was still dial-up. The assistant program director, I remember both of these jokers' names. I'm just not going to tell you on the air. The program director, he's up in, last I heard, in Chicago, destroying radio stations in Chicago, like he did here in Miami. But, oh boy, Neil Rogers used to talk about this guy. But the assistant program director, I believe, was the first person to discover online pornography, because he spent his days in his office watching porn during the days of dial-up. His door was always shut. If you went in without knocking, well, you were really taking a risk, because you didn't know if he had his guitar in his hand, strumming the guitar, or he was strumming something else. And I'm not kidding. So, there's a lot of control in these situations. And when you're in corporate, and a lot of times it's done through memorandums and things like this. And when you're independent and free, you can talk about the things you want to talk about. And the only accountability you have is to your audience. Do they want to hear what you're sharing? And luckily, you and this audience want to hear what we have. So, you're our editors, commander-in-chiefs, and all of that in the audience. But these corporate media structures are different. So we have these big-name people. Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson are the two big ones, big names. There's others, but these people that have lived their life in corporate media spreading lies and propaganda. In fact, Tucker Carlson said yesterday, when he was interviewed by Adam Carolla, that he lied on the air. In particular, he was talking about the war in Iraq. And he said, I was in my 30s, I had a bunch of kids, and, and I figured, why am I going to fight everyone? I got a lot of, he says, I'm not rich, which kind of surprised me, and certainly wasn't that. And he said, I did things on the air that I'm not proud of, that I did. Yeah, I couldn't believe he was saying it, because the corporate media bosses told him to do it. So what's happened now, like there's a story today, Fox News has announced who's going to moderate the second Fox News debate. Is there anyone, one of them, Stuart Varney, who was a nice guy. We've had him on this program many times. I like Stuart Varney a lot from Fox Business. I forgot who the other one is. I'll look in a minute. But who cares? Who cares? What happened with this last Fox News debate, because Tucker Carlson did this incredible historic interview with President Trump that was the most viewed interview in the history of interviews, the Tucker interview with President Trump. Presidential debates in the cable news or on the television networks are meaningless now. No one cares. They're not interesting. Right? They're not interesting. That's just the way it is. Okay? And the days of the media control over our lives is over. It's over now. And the big move started with Tucker. When the internet was new, Bill Clinton was president, and he talked, they used to call the internet, some of you will remember this, the information superhighway. Remember that? The information superhighway, because people didn't know all the words that we just take commonly now. The internet, people called it the information superhighway. And the idea of the internet at that time was that every voice could be heard, everyone was going to be heard, no matter what. And remember, we used to have newsletters and zines. You guys remember zines? People would send out newsletters. They'd have 20 people on a list. They'd mail out their zine. But the internet was the information superhighway, and everyone and every voice was going to be heard, and there was going to be freedom from the corporate media structure. Remember, there was even Bill Clinton used to talk about that. Well, as soon as it became a thing and people started saying things like Matt Drudge and Chris Ruddy at Newsmax and all this stuff that wasn't approved by corporate media, all of a sudden the overlords took it over and silenced it. And now we're in a point where with the internet and programs like this, that there's true freedom now. And this is the first presidential election of any of our lifetimes where the corporate media are not telling us what to think about everything and everyone every step of the way. And that's a big thing. So I want to take our first break. When I come back, I'm going to play a couple of clips from Tucker Carlson's interview. Remember, Tucker was interviewed by Adam Carolla. He didn't interview Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla interviewed Tucker Carlson. And I got to tell you, it was the most unplugged, outspoken, unchained Tucker Carlson I have ever heard. So I'll play some of those clips when we get back from our first break. Our number toll-free, 1-888-GO-CANE1. Back after this.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live.
Now, I'm going to make a prediction, which I shouldn't make because they may be watching. Richie's going to call in. He may be watching, so he may change this up. And he's going to say, you're censored. You can't say anything. Well, there's always limitations. There's not total free speech anywhere, even for Tucker and these people in the internet, right? Like we got, the profanity and things like that. But watch, that's what he'll say. Now, he could be watching and may change up what he's going to say. Just my prediction. Now, let me ask you guys, Monday's a big holiday. Tell me yes or no. If I am live on Monday, which is a big holiday, the roads will be empty. The only people on the roads at these early hours of the morning I'm driving will be drunks, right? If I come in on Monday, will you guys be here, yes or no, or will you be sleeping in? Because I'm not sure. Labor Day is a tough day. Really? You guys would not be sleeping in. You would be here live at this time on Labor Day. Right. Okay. Every day? Wow. Wow. By the way, those of you that are members, I put up a new members video this morning right before I left the house. Go check that out. And there's other member content up there too. You got, wow. So pretty much everybody says they'll be here on Labor Day. One more commercial, then we'll be back.
My favorite restaurant in all of South Florida, Wings Plus in Coral Springs. Wings just the way you like them. Plump, tender, and delicious. Crispy on the outside, succulent on the inside. Everything homemade. Nothing comes out of a can. Dozens of specialty sauces that will make your mouth water. Wings Plus, located in Coral Springs, a mile west of University, on the south side of Sample Road.
Make sure you subscribe if you're new, and everyone, please like the video.
95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, Harrison Boca on 95.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale on 96.9 FM, and anywhere in the world at TrueOldiesFLA.com.
All right, callers on hold, stand by. This is Labor Day weekend coming up, and I know that's a big active weekend. You guys have any plans for Labor Day weekend? I know what I'm doing. At home, I have a studio at home where I podcast and I live stream from at home. And I'm the only one in the house that uses it. Well, me and our new cat, and it's a mess. Okay, so I'm going to do decluttering and reorganization, and I might even paint the room. I don't know if I'll get done in time to paint, but it's a lot of work, a lot of physical work, and it's kind of a room where we put everything we don't want, and I try to make use of it. So I'm going to throw away do some bulk stuff, throw away some of the furniture that I don't need in there and all that stuff. And, I can do all of that. Why? Because of Dr. Philip Appleton and his laser away pain treatment, ridding me of pain. If you're suffering, go see Dr. Appleton. Stop your suffering. Before I met Dr. Appleton, I really thought that aches and pains was just part of growing older and that's what life was. And you know what? It's not. You don't have to live with pain. And guess what? You don't have to take a bunch of medications to mask the pain that don't fix the problem. They just cover it up, which could make it worse because you take some drugs and you don't feel the pain. You're doing things with that part of the body that you shouldn't be doing, and you could make the condition worse. So go see Dr. Appleton and talk to him about his laser away pain treatment, okay? It works. Appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome even on Saturdays, okay? You can find Dr. Appleton online at appletoncairo.com or give him a call, 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. That's 954-973-0710. All right, I'll take some calls and then I'm going to play some clips from Tucker Carlson's interview that Adam Carolla did with him, which was just amazing. Our number 1-888-GO-CANE-1. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Half rights already. Yes, Richie.
Just with you. Yeah, with what you said. I believe you're pretty much right. You are the product and I am the consumer. Okay? I believe that cable TV is dead. I believe that network TV is dead, especially with it. I believe that like platforms like YouTube have let up on podcasts. Still, the moderators are sitting out there watching certain topics. You're going to be restricted on certain platforms.
Richie, there's never total freedom of speech. I mean, let me finish my sentence. Yeah, there's on platforms where no one watches. That's why there's freedom, because no one watches. But let me give you an example. You could go you can say whatever you want, but there's consequences to it. Like if you went to your wife and started using all kinds of profanities and calling her nasty names and degraded her and everything, sure, you've got the freedom to do that, but there would be some consequences to it. So, there's certain guidelines in our society we go by. When I talk about freedom of speech, and no one has total freedom to say whatever it is they're thinking, nowhere. But what I'm talking about is that the corporate media structure, okay, they decide what presidential candidates we're going to have, who's going to be the nominee of the political parties. They drive public opinion on, look what they did. The media got behind the lie of the WMDs in Iraq and got us in. Those days are over.
Yeah, but now the government. We've seen hearings on Capitol Hill with these platforms. The government's going after Elon.
Wasn't I right about Richie?
You know that they're going after for Tesla, and they're going after with the others. The government is all over the place because they are disgusted with him because he's given people like Tucker platform.
Well, because the reason they're going after Elon Musk is the same reason they're going after President Trump in many ways. It's a loss of control. And that interview that Tucker did on Twitter with President Trump flipped out the government.
Yeah, I know that, and that's why they're suing the crap out of him. That's what I'm trying to say. And as for radio, I'm going to say this to you. You might not like it. I think your podcast is tremendous. The radio show is affected because of the abundance of commercials, and it's not just.
Well, we got it, Richie. We got it. We got to eat. This is what we do for a living. I mean, hold on. When you were a bus driver, all right, think about this, okay? How do you think people felt when you're going down Broward Boulevard and every block you hear ding ding and they got to stop? Well, the bus has got to make its money. So I mean, Richie, I mean, here we.
The podcast, you don't have that.
That's not true. That's not, well, first off, Tucker is, let me tell you about Tucker Carlson, okay? And he says he's not. Tucker Carlson still works for Fox News. They've only taken him off the air. He's still under contract and being paid. And the reason that he's doing these things without commercials is because he cannot do anything for profit under his contract. He's got some loophole in his contract that allows him to do pretty much anything he wants so long as he's not compensated for it. So the moment that that's over, you'll hear him do commercials. But I'm not going to apologize to some guy sitting on his fat butt on a pension because we're commercially viable and have to do things. Well, Richie, you say negative things about me. I'm not supposed to come back at you. I'm supposed to be a punching bag for you to criticize how I earn a living, and I'm just supposed to say, okay, Richie, okay, and not, enough. Lifetime government worker, lifetime government worker. Doesn't understand. He thinks he's conservative and entrepreneurial in his mind and spirit, but when you are a lifetime government worker, you don't understand the world. When you're sitting around on a government pension, which is really kind of a form of welfare, it's easy to have all these opinions, when you got nothing to lose or you're not risking anything. All right, now we're going to, after the break at the bottom of the hour, I'm going to get into some of these clips of Tucker Carlson. And what happened with Richie, I'll tell you what happened with Richie in his call, because the reason he was getting a little antsy there is when we went to break, I was talking on YouTube during the break to the people in the YouTube chat. I said, I probably shouldn't say this because it'll tip him off. Richie's probably watching, but I'm going to make a prediction. Richie is going to call in and say, and then I said what Richie was going to say, and obviously he was watching, and when I took his call, I took the wind out of his sails because I told people before I even talked to Richie or even knew Richie was on the phone that he was going to call and exactly what he was going to say. And guess what? I was right. All right, guys, listen. If you're on hold, hang in there. When we get back, I want to play a couple of these clips of Tucker Carlson, which is just absolutely amazing. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show on the radio since 1977. My name is Brian Craig. Back after this.
Making morning radio great again. You're gonna really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Trying to sound like an a-hole to Richie because I know he's listening, but doesn't he use the sponsors that the commercials play on?
If I was getting a government check every month, I wouldn't worry about anything. I'd tell everybody else what to do too and risk their income. One of Richie's friends came on the cruise, right, with him a couple of cruises ago. This was like 2-3 cruises ago. And he says, Brian, you should have been a bus driver. And I said, why? And he said, you'd be retired like me now. And I said, well, yeah, but then I would be a bus driver. It was so bizarre. Bizarre, these guys. My gosh, these people. Oh, boy. I'm not sure what we're going to do on Labor Day. One of the reasons I tend not to take off on holidays a lot is because I still wake up so early. But I don't wake up as early as I would if I was coming in to do the show live because it's, I got to drive here. It's about 35, 40-minute drive. So I got to get up early. Got to do more show prep. Got to do all the show prep and do all the editing of the sound bites and stuff. So, So I'd still have to get up at 2 or 2:30 in the morning. No. So I don't know what we're going to do on Labor Day. Well, thank you, Mary. My collar was sticking up in the back like Elvis Presley. Let's see, which one of these am I going to play first? I'm going to play this one first. Yeah, I mean, that Tucker Carlson was just absolutely amazing in that interview. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, no, I've talked to Kathy, you know, I said I'd like to be kind of, I wouldn't mind being like semi-retired, you know, but I could never be retired, never. Mm-hmm. Well, thanks, Katina. Yeah, Katina, you know, had gotten blocked by mistake, and I looked several times and I didn't see a number, and then I finally found there. Most things that are blocked are troll sex bots and stuff, and Katina, it showed the block list is in an order in which things were blocked. So Katina's name was in between two porn bots. So what happens a lot of times in the chat, when you go to block these bots, if the chat's like really, sometimes it's scrolling so fast, you know, me or one of the mods will go to click on the bot, right? But it scrolls past in that split second that you're moving your finger and you'll hit the wrong person. Instead of the bot, you'll hit somebody. I've blocked my wife so many times. And the porn bots that you were between, Katina, had the most vile names I've ever seen. I mean, I couldn't believe. It's amazing to me, those porn bots that you guys see, because my block list is like all porn bots, right? This is what I wonder about the porn bots, okay? First off, what level of computer knowledge must one have to do those? I mean, it's got to be very upper level, right? Who would click any of those porn bots? I mean, I would just assume that if I clicked one of those porn bots, that my computer was immediately hacked. Wouldn't you? I mean, who clicks those things? Enough people must do it to make it worthwhile of those computer experts that are behind them. I just don't get that. All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Oh, man. You know, so I want to get into this. I'll play a couple clips here because it's pretty important stuff. Adam Carolla, who was on The Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump, interviewed Tucker Carlson yesterday, just to recap what I was talking about in the first half hour. And it was the most uncensored and unplugged that I have heard Tucker Carlson since he left Fox News Channel. And it's absolutely amazing, okay? It's absolutely amazing. And I have a handful of clips. There's a couple of clips that everyone's talking about, but he said some stuff that was beyond gossip that is very, very important about what's going on. And you know, you got to understand, when Tucker Carlson talks, he is a knowledgeable insider, okay? He has been, I remember when he was back over on CNN doing Crossfire in the 90s. So he's been in the world of cable news for like 25, 30 years, right? So he has an inside knowledge of everything that goes on, not just in the media, but in the government, because he's gotten to know personally many insiders in the government over the past 25 to 30 years since he was on Crossfire at CNN. So when Tucker Carlson says the things that he says in the clips I'm going to share with you, you can take it to the bank that it's 100% accurate. So this clip here, I'm not going to build it up or anything. I'm just going to play it and then we'll talk about it. And your calls are welcome on this, by the way, at 1-888-GO-CANE 1-888-465-2631. This is clip 1, Tucker Carlson with Adam Carolla yesterday.
The problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. That's what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
Really?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Now, this is, yeah. So, yeah, I know, it's scary, isn't it? Absolutely. You know, school's just started back, and I know a lot of you have sons and daughters that are seniors in high school that are talking about maybe joining the service. Please discourage them from doing that. And if they insist, try to get them to go Coast Guard. You can still end up in a combat zone in the Coast Guard, but chances are you won't, and it's search and rescue, so it's non-combat for the most part. You can be in these war zones and things can happen. But, you know, I've been predicting this for the last couple of years. You know, what these deep staters and the uniparty people and these power-hungry Washington elite know is this, right? Throughout the entire history of the United States of America, a president has never lost re-election during wartime. In fact, I remember in 2004 when George Bush was running against John Kerry. John Kerry seemed to be pretty popular with the left. There was this fake anti-war movement. Most of us had not yet gotten wind that George W. Bush and Dick Cheney were war criminals and were lying and everything. But I told people, I said, this election in 2004, there's no doubt in my mind that it's going to be won with the re-election of George W. Bush. I don't care what they say. In fact, I remember on Election Day, John Kerry, they had exit polls coming out showing John Kerry was going to win. John Kerry took his entire campaign staff out to lobster lunch in Boston and told them what their jobs in the White House were going to be. Isn't that something? And I told people then, don't worry about it. No president has lost re-election in time of war. And that's just the way it is. So that's a strategy that Tucker Carlson says that they are going to pull. Whether it'll work or not is less likely than in the past, okay? Because we're on to them. And what Tucker Carlson says in that clip is frightening beyond imagination. It really tells you what a dangerous place we're at right now in the United States of America. He said because they're locking up their political opponents, the Trump 19, which of course Trump is #1 in Fulton County, that the leaders of the government, which would be the deep state, the White House, and that goes for White House staffers like Jean-Pierre and others, people in the Justice Department, from Merrick Garland on down, they're in fear that if Trump comes back into the White House, that they're going to be arrested because they're doing crime, and they've been doing it since he came down the escalator, but they've gotten carried away now. And they're going to do whatever it is they have to do to stop him from being reelected to keep themselves out of jail. How many times have you heard liberals say in media, Trump is running for president so he can stay out of jail? Well, one thing about Democrats, one thing about liberals in the media and the Democrat Party as a whole, they always accuse you of doing what they're doing, okay? That's right out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. Rules for Radicals, which is kind of like the art of war for liberal lunatics. Saul Alinsky in Rules for Radicals says, accuse your opponent of doing what you are doing. And that's been a very effective tactic from the left prior to the media losing their stranglehold control over thought in this country. But when Tucker Carlson says we're going to be in a hot war, we're already at war with Russia. It's a proxy war. We're in that phase now. In Vietnam, they called them advisors. There's no doubt in my mind that we have U.S. service personnel in combat zones and in combat operations in Ukraine against Russia, and have for a long time now. The military equipment today is very high tech. This isn't the days of Vietnam or World War II where you show someone how to use a gun or a bazooka and they go to a training camp over the weekend and they're good to go. Everything is high tech and computerized. The computer systems and the weapon systems that are computerized are in English. And Ukrainians speak Ukrainian. I'm sure they've got some that speak English, but how many? And how many of them are available to be in frontline combat units using this equipment? So we've got to have English-speaking trained personnel on how to use this modern equipment, whether it's tanks, whether it's anti-aircraft, whatever it is. So we have got to have U.S. service personnel on the ground in the combat zones, and probably have since the beginning in Ukraine, and that's building up and up and up. But the media is not covering this. But he says there's going to be a hot war. And this is why a couple days ago when I was talking about Tucker interviewing Vladimir Putin, that he would really be putting himself in a lot of danger where he could be arrested on his return to the United States, because if Tucker Carlson interviews Vladimir Putin, I believe Trump's interview, the last time I looked a couple days ago, had 252 million views. I think the Putin interview would have more. And the reason that is because there's a larger worldwide audience that would want to hear from Putin, right? Like the hundreds of millions of Russians that may not be interested in Trump. And a lot of people didn't watch that interview because they said, well, I've seen Trump interviewed a bunch of times. How many interviews have you seen with Putin by an American who thinks we should not be involved with Ukraine since this war began? None. So that interview could stop all of their plans. And it's a big one, and it's a dangerous one for the establishment uniparty, because it would humanize Putin. I believe Tucker would use it to try to get Putin to discuss having peace talks. We saw this yesterday. Let me see if I can pull this up. I don't have this queued up. Tucker went to Hungary, and he interviewed the president of Hungary. And I don't have this queued up. President Trump posted it on Truth Social. I'll see if I can pull it up and play it after the break. But the president of Hungary told Tucker Carlson to end the war between Russia and Ukraine, we need Trump back to do it. Okay? And, well, isn't that something? So, yeah, when he says within a year we're going to be in a hot war with Russia, Tucker Carlson, I think you can take that to the bank because of who he is, what his connections are, and what his sources are. Now, I want to tell you guys, a couple days ago, this was over the weekend, I had this huge cup of coffee, the largest cup of coffee you could have, and I was at home, and I was getting ready to do a live stream on YouTube, and I dropped the cup of coffee. I had my hands full, and this cup of coffee went all over the floor in the hallway, and it was a mess. And I know, and I had to go do the live stream. I was in a rush, so it was right outside our guest bathroom. So what I did is I reached inside the bathroom and grabbed one of my MyPillow towels. And the 6-piece MyPillow towel set, by the way, which is just $39.99 with our promo code KANE at checkout, KANE, is the most incredible towel set you will ever have. Towels that actually work. What a concept is what Mike Lindell says. So listen to this. I had a full, large cup of coffee spilled all over the floor at my house. I grabbed the MyPillow towel and I threw it down on top of it, and it soaked up all of it. And I picked up the towel. The floor was dry and it was all soaked in the towel. And I used one of our white MyPillow towels, and I was like, oh my gosh, it worked like in the Bounty paper towel commercials when they wipe up messes. That's how absorbent the MyPillow towels are. But I picked it up. The white towel was now brown, more of a tan, because I had creamer in the coffee, and I was like, oh my goodness. But it was dry, and when I picked it up, the towel was brown from the coffee, but it wasn't dripping. It absorbed and held all the coffee in the towel. It wasn't dripping on the floor. I couldn't believe it. So I threw it in the wash because of the coffee all over it. I dried it, and it came out 100% as good as new, because everything Mike Lindell makes is high quality. The 6-piece MyPillow towel set is amazing. Go to mypillow.com and order yours. Just $39.99 with our promo code Kane at checkout. I hope I'm not bothering Richie. I'm doing a commercial. This is how we make a living, Richie. You made a living when people went, ding, ding, I got to get off here. The crack house, I buy my crack ats right over there. Could you let me off, okay? You can also order by phone, 1-800-716-4879. Can we add some commercials, Mike? Can we make this, just to annoy Richie? 1-800-716-4879, promo code Kane. We'll be right back.
Hard truth. Delivered morning 6 to 9 right here on The Steve Kane Show.
Hey, it's Scott Shannon here with a question. How would you like a free doorbell camera? You get a doorbell camera, you get a doorbell camera, and you get a doorbell camera. I wish we had them for everyone, but the first 40 True Oldies channel listeners to call 833-283-5050 will get a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your cell phone with installation of your Sloman Shield. Here you see your home right from the palm of your hand. And that's not all. Sloman's going to give you a free
MAGA forever, that's right.
security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. So you're getting an LED touchscreen pad, a motion detector, 3-arm doors, and a backup battery. Plus, if you're one of the first 40 True Oldies channel listeners to dial 833-283-5050, you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. So call Sloman's now for this limited time offer, 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050.
Brian Craig here, telling you about our 5th annual
Yes.
Listener Cruise. And you're all invited, except Liberal Al. Liberal Al, you're not invited, but the rest of you are.
That's true. Liberal Al is not invited.
27th on board the Celebrity Beyond, the flagship of Celebrity Cruises.
Think I'm going to spend a week with Liberal Al? I don't think so.
Bonaire, and Aruba. We have shore excursions at every port, and I'll be on them all with you. We'll have dinner together every night, private cocktail parties, we'll go to Broadway shows together, and dance till the clubs close every night. Call Ian at Cruise and Travel Depot and book your reservation at 561-244-5779. 561-244-5779.
Hey, are you already dreaming about your next vacation getaway? Well, mark
No, our group is private. So if you're not in our group, you don't hang out with us. We have a private group. You can't go on our shore excursions. You can't hang out with us. Nothing. We've had people try that. We had a guy, I don't know, about 3 cruises ago, 2 or 3 cruises ago, we had a guy try to do that. This liberal guy kept trying to crash our group at events, and Ian, our travel agent from Cruise and Travel Depot, he called security, and they said if he they removed him. Security came and removed him a few times, and they said, you do it again, we're going to put you in the brig. They threatened to put him in the brig, and I thought they were joking, and I talked to this. They said, no, we have a brig. It's a real brig, and they were going to put the guy in the brig. I know these people.
stops and reverses all the signs and symptoms of menopause. Loose wings gone. Night sweats gone. I've met listeners before and after hormone replacement pellet therapy with Dr. Matez, and when I first meet them, they're like Joe Biden, and no one wants to be like him. And then I meet them again after they began hormone replacement pellet therapy, and they have their energy back, just like Trump. They're standing up tall, and they feel years younger. Now, it's always a free consultation with Dr. Matez when you tell him you heard about him on the radio. 561-320-8893. 561-320-8893.
Here we go.
The social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show is on the air.
The problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID to get anywhere. Everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. That's what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And yes, of course.
Wow. You know, this is really sad. I mean, you know, we're in this place in this country right now where these terrible things are happening and we just accept them because they've been doing so many terrible things that we're almost numb. We're desensitized. So Tucker Carlson is saying that Joe Biden and these others are going to send young men and women off to war to fight Russia that is not our enemy simply so they can keep Trump out of the White House. These people will do... What do you guys think it is? Now, right now, there's an immediate panic because they're afraid they're going to go to prison. But what do you think the root cause of Trump derangement syndrome is? Any ideas on that? You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike.
You know, Richie's a nut, but he's our nut. We love him, right? But that's the thing. This is he's right. I mean, this is what Steve Bannon has been saying for a while now with us sending them to what he calls the Chernobyl house in Ukraine. Nobody can win a war in Ukraine because this is basically a civil war we're going into.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So,
yeah.
And basically when Tucker went over there and talked to Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, that's what Viktor Orban said as well, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that's the thing. Look, there have been times when media has changed big time, and the last time was Rush Limbaugh because of the fact that, you know, everything they said about him was not true, but they talked about him incessantly because he changed media.
Well, yeah. Hey, by the way, Mike, you're right. Yeah, Rush Limbaugh was kind of like what happened with Rush. It was the beginning of the change we're experiencing right now. You know, what happened was there was the deregulation of broadcasting before. It's true. They had an equal time law that Ronald Reagan did away with, and it took a few years for it to pick up. But the way that worked, and Rush Limbaugh couldn't have done what it is he did back in the days of equal time. If you had someone on, right, and gave an opinion, you were required by the government, the federal government, to have somebody on with the opposing viewpoint. Remember on the news when they used to have, like, the general manager of a television news station would do an editorial at the end of the broadcast, and then sometimes you'd see some guy in a T-shirt and a ball cap on giving a response. They were required to do that, and it was very difficult. And so if we had someone on the show, I'll give you an example. If we had someone on the show, like right now, I played this clip of Tucker talking about the dangers of the war in Ukraine. You were required to have someone that was for us being involved in Ukraine. And it was heavily regulated. And when I first started in radio, those days were over, but the guys that were running the radio station, that's all they knew, and they would keep track of such things. Yeah. And that's why shows like Rush weren't around before then. So I pulled this clip up, and I want to thank Mike for his call because he allowed me the time to pull this up. I forgot to pull this up during the break. So Tucker interviewed the president of Hungary and talked to him about what we can do, what can happen to stop this god-awful war in Ukraine with Russia.
If you were in charge of NATO, if you were, say, Joe Biden, what would your next move be in the war in Ukraine? What would you do?
Peace, immediately. Call back Trump. That's
You hear that? Okay, now this is the president of Hungary. He says Trump is the only way to end this war.
So if you were in charge of NATO, if you were, say, Joe Biden, what would your next move be in the war in Ukraine? What would you do?
Peace, immediately. Call back Trump. That's the only way out.
Call back Trump.
Call back Trump. Because, you can criticize him for many reasons. I understand all the discussion, but, the best foreign policy of the recent several decades belonged to him. He did not initiate any new war.
Yes.
He treated nicely the North Koreans and Russia, even the Chinese. He delivered a policy which was the best one for Middle East, Abraham Accords.
Yes.
So that was a very good foreign policy. He's criticized that he's not educated enough to understand the world, but this is not the case. Facts count, and his foreign policy was the best one for the world in the last several decades I have seen. And if he would have been the president at the moment of the Russian invasion started, no, it would be not possible to do that by the Russians. So Trump is the man who can save the Western world and probably the human beings in the globe as well.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? That's President of Hungary telling Tucker Carlson, Trump is the man who can save the world. Isn't that crazy? The only one who can end the war in Ukraine and save civilization as we know it. Isn't that's amazing? It is absolutely amazing. Yeah, that clip didn't make it on the news. Boy, look at this is what I'm telling you. This is a new time. The media, all the media, are so pushing this war in Ukraine. It's disgusting. And things like this, they don't want to be heard because they don't want the war in Ukraine to end. Now, we got through that hurricane, and I've been telling you guys, if you have a leak in your roof, if your roof's been compromised, no matter where you are in the state of Florida, call Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting. He'll never sell you a roof you do not need, and he does every type of roofing material and every type of structure. And if you're listening and you have damage from the storm that just went through Florida, call Tom Laporta. No matter where you are in Florida, Tom Laporta can help. And he just helped one of our listeners who is with an HOA, Bob from Lake Park. He has an HOA, and Tom Laporta has a specialty with HOAs. We had a guy, a listener, he called me on the air. This was amazing. He's an HOA guy, and he had a bunch of roofers come out and give him an estimate on roof repairs. Everyone told him that they needed a new roof. Then he called Tom Laporta. He's a listener to the show. He called Tom Laporta from Laporta Contracting. Tom Laporta looked at the roof and said, no, you just need a simple repair. The guy was so impressed and also blown away at the same time. No one else in the roofing business will tell you they'll never sell you a roof that you don't need. They all tell you you need a new roof because there's such big money in it. Not Tom Laporta. So give Tom a call. And, this number we give you for Tom Laporta rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone. He's a good MAGA guy, and he does great work. I've seen his work. What he did with Steve's house was phenomenal. Steve's house, since Tom Laporta did the roof and the repairs on Steve's home, is the showpiece of Steve's street. Before it looked condemned. And it pretty much was with all that black mold and everything growing in it. Tom Laporta's number, again, rings directly to his cell phone. It's 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaContracting.com. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Wellington.
Hey, Wellington, what's up?
I just wanted to give my opinion on why those TDS were trying to range into.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it stems from
Trump being in the position where he was for so long and having a hand in all of their pockets and their hands in his, I think that he realized that there was just too much corruption and maybe never spoke out about it, and maybe he just kept his cool until he knew there was no other way. I mean, I remember listening to his old interviews with Oprah Winfrey and Good Morning America about him wanting to be president, and this was like in the 80s, you know, so when he spoke very clearly on what he wanted to do.
If you go, I'm up against the break. I'm sorry, I only have 10 seconds left. If you go back to these, I don't hold anybody over. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I don't like to hold people over. But you know what? I'll let you call back though later in the show if you want. Okay? Call back later in the show. You're welcome to call back. All right, I'll respond to him after this break.
WWNN Pompano Beach, WIRK HD3 Indiantown. Programming paid for by Vic Canales Media Group. Broadcasting from the Rope Studio. Injured recently? Call the Ropes Law Group, where winning is a habit. 561-570-5700. 561-570-5700. Ropes, winning for you and our community. Your home for the Steve Kane Show. From the Palm Beach Patio Furniture Weather Center, where luxurious outdoor spaces are created. Here's the oldies forecast.
Good morning, South Florida. First one meteorologist Vanessa Vinez from W.
Yeah, I've got a couple more clips of Tucker's that are just insane.
More rain and thunderstorms in the afternoon hours. We'll see that heat advisory taking place later on this morning for the Palm Beaches until 7 o'clock this evening. Feels like temperatures reaching the triple digits with hot temperatures in the 90s for everyone.
Let me see.
Weather brought to you by Palm Beach Patio Furniture.
Yeah, we have a lot of listeners in Australia. It's amazing how many people I hear from Australia. I'd love to go to Australia. I haven't traveled so much because I've always been working since I was in high school. So, you know, going to Australia from Florida, that's a long trip. I haven't had more than a week off since I was 18, I don't think. But I'd love to visit Australia. If I do, I'll do a personal appearance. We'll find a restaurant somewhere in Australia and we'll do an appearance. The Wings Plus of Australia. That's right. Make America great again. Again, right? Yeah, this is my newest Make America Great Again hat. This is the one that I wore to Turning Point USA. So this hat was seen in person this close by President Trump, Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, Byron Donalds, Anna Paulina Luna, and all those that were there. Isn't that amazing? Mike Lindell. A lot of famous people saw this exact hat this close. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, Vivek Ramaswamy too. He was there. Vivek Ramaswamy. He was there. He was there. Those kids at Turning Point went nuts for Vivek Ramaswamy. It's cool though when you go to those kind of events and they have all those speakers for the day, what they do is they start out, they're all good, right? But each speaker is like a bigger star than the one before, so it builds. You know, it's pretty cool. Charlie Kirk is smart because a lot of times you go to those events and they're not so well organized, but Charlie Kirk knew the lineup. You start with somebody that's good and everybody loves, then the next person then is better, then the next person's better, then the next person's bigger, all the way to Trump. So it builds and builds and builds. I hate when I go to events like that and they don't build like that with the speakers. It really keeps you motivated and keeps you from going to the bathroom because you don't want to miss anything.
You kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
On the air
There we go.
1977, it's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
All right, we are back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. That's a pretty amazing thing. And by the way, the longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the air since 1977, there's no additions to that. Longest running radio show hosted by a woman. No, the longest running radio show and then some other subtitle. There's no subtitles. The Steve Kane Show is the longest running radio show in the state of Florida. And one of the longest running in all of the country. As I said, unfortunately, the Grand Ole Opry has had their radio show since like 1920. So, so we're never going to beat the Grand Ole Opry. But this is most definitely the longest running radio show in the state of Florida. And I have been contacted by general managers and sales managers and radio personalities from all over this state who have challenged me on it. And no one's even really come close. The closest someone came was within 6 years. That's right. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, I've heard parts of what the interview was about, and that Hungarian president knows, just like we know, the day President Trump is back in that White House, all of this BS goes away.
Well, let me give you an example of how, President Trump, after his second term, and he writes his book about being president, which I hope he calls The Art of the Political Deal. Let me give you an example of what a brilliant foreign policy person he is. North Korea. Do you know how he got the meeting with Kim Jong-un?
No, I don't remember.
Let me see if anybody knows. So who brokered, he recruited a special ambassador at large. He's African American, I'll give you a hint. Who did Donald Trump approach? Dennis Rodman, you are correct. If I had a prize, you'd win it, but I have no prizes. Dennis Rodman had traveled with other NBA stars to North Korea for years and knew Kim Jong-un. And Donald Trump did something that it's never really been written about or anything because, his presidency's not done. He's got another term coming and these things. He got Dennis Rodman to broker a summit meeting between him and Kim Jong-un. Absolutely, and he did it. And what he did, President Trump, when he went to see Kim Jong-un, he got Kim Jong-un to do anything that he wanted. And what he did was he said, look at South Korea. That could be you, right? Because, they don't have money. He wants to be rich. They're a welfare state, North Korea of China. And money makes the world go round. And all these dictators and monsters, just like Biden, all they care about is money. He knows how to make it. And the Trump brand means success, excellence, and great wealth. And he uses that to get things done. I promise you, that's what he'll do with Putin to end this war in Ukraine. It'll either be a 100% embargo on everything. Remember he told France, if you don't do what we want, we're going to have a 50% tax on champagne. And then they immediately bent. Everything's about money. If you want, I tell you guys, I watch a lot of ID. Every murder is either about sex or money, pretty much. Sex or money. Every once in a while you get these random things, but it's sex or money. That's how he does things. And him recruiting Dennis Rodman, who thinks that way? Who would even think of? And Dennis Rodman was on The Celebrity Apprentice, by the way, so he knew Dennis Rodman for many years. Who would think of doing something so brilliant other than Trump?
No one. And remember the book, The Art of the Deal. He's been making deals for decades and knows what he's doing. And he knows how to sway people's thinking, and he has the experience for them to trust him. And we trust him as president. I trust no one else in this country to run this country right now other than President Trump. And it shows like this, Brian, yours right here, and people like us that we first got prayer is our first line of defense. We got to pray and believe in God. But our second one is to stay united and don't let them divide us and stay the course. And I'm telling you, we're going to see better things coming. I truly believe that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And by the way, Dennis Rodman deserves a medal for what he did. And, you know,
I never cared for him as an athlete. You know, he was always flamboyant and doing weird stuff. But I'll tell you what, he knew that guy. He had an inside connection with him, and he did a great thing for America, even though I don't agree with...
Well, we don't have we don't have political, you know, ties to North Korea, but Dennis Rodman had Kim Jong-un's cell phone number and could get him. And Trump did it. I mean, no one's talked about that, I don't think, other than me. I talked about it at the time, and people have laughed at me and everything. But I promise you, when President Trump writes his book, The Art of the Political Deal, after his second term, I hope that's in it. It's probably a big national secret.
Yeah, it should be. And he has so much he could write about for what he did the first time. Can you imagine after a second term what America's going to be again? Mm-hmm. We just got to stay the course, Brian, and keep right here in shows like this and support one another and get our voice out there. They might try to cut us off, but they can't stop us.
That's right. All right, Jeff from Maine, take care. Thanks for the call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi there, Brian. It's Lisa in Texas.
Hey, Lisa.
And I'm so glad you're playing these clips because this was such a fascinating interview. I watched it last night.
I watched it twice. I watched it yesterday, and then I watched it again before I left this morning. I've only played one clip. I have others I'm going to play.
Oh, I mean, and just what you brought up just now about what the president of Hungary said, right?
Oh, yeah.
Bringing Donald Trump. And then what Tucker says about them starting a war, which I knew that too. I mean, this was a precursor to just make sure it's going.
Yeah.
So they can escalate it.
Yeah, exactly.
And pull it in because they're not going to be, I mean, you know, the other thing that Tucker brought up in his interview was, you know, he asked Trump if he was worried about them trying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And I think this is a more plausible thing because they know if they do that, he's a super martyr.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting going forward. But, you know, Jeff from Maine is so correct that we got to stay in prayer first and then keep alert to this. They want to divide us, but the people are not going to go for a bigger war. This is all coming down on them because it's all.
Well, they, you know, when I don't know about that. You know, they don't care what the people think, Joe Biden and these people. And I'm gonna play the clip again after the next break, the one I've played of Tucker because it's frightening. And then I've got others I want to play. And if you're just tuning in, Adam Carolla interviewed Tucker Carlson yesterday, and it is the most uncensored, unplugged, raw you've ever heard Tucker Carlson. Ever. I've never heard him speak so openly about such things. Never.
I know. It was really amazing. And you know, when you talk about the basketball player guy that hooked up this meeting.
Rodman.
With, Rodman. I remember when that happened, actually. And he got very, you know, they shut him down and he got very little fanfare. But I remember seeing him crying because he was hoping to bring peace. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Cried because he loves the Korean people and Kim Jong-un and all those people, and he was like hoping that this would be like bring peace.
North Korea would be so open right now if Trump was in his second term. It would. Hey, listen, Lisa, I appreciate the call. All right, take care. Take care. If you're on hold, stand by. We're going to take our first break of the second hour. Our number is 1-888-GO-CANE 1-888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're calling from. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show. We'll be right back.
Don't sit on the sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-CANE 1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, are you already dreaming about your next vacation getaway? Well, Margaritaville at Sea Summer Blowout Sale is back, but only for a very limited time. Check out a 3-day, 2-night cruise in the Bahamas starting at only $99 for 2 guests. An incredible deal you won't see again this season. Enjoy delicious island-inspired cuisine, amazing live entertainment, spectacular ocean breezes, and so much more. Don't miss your last chance to break away.
Yep, Rodman and Adam Carolla were both on The Celebrity Apprentice. Yeah.
Book today at
Were they on the same season? I can't remember. NBC hates Trump so much, they don't even rerun that show. Do you know how popular reruns of The Apprentice would be? Oh my goodness, I'd watch them. Wouldn't you? Absolutely, I'd watch it. I love The Apprentice and The Celebrity Apprentice. The Martha Stewart one wasn't that good, and the Schwarzenegger one was awful. But Trump's was excellent.
The best way to protect your family from the effects of a hurricane is to make a disaster plan. In the same way you plan for your family, it's important to also make a plan for your pets. Making a pet plan ensures you know what to do for your pets when a storm threatens your community. You can locate pet-friendly shelters, find a list of supplies you may need to bring with you, and other information that can help you and your pets evacuate quickly and safely by visiting makeapetplan.com. This message is sponsored by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Are you living your best life? Are you feeling the way you know you should be? This is John, CFO at Lighthouse Medical Center. Our hormone optimization therapy programs have helped so many people get back to feeling the way they did in their 20s. They're full of energy after a long day, reduced their risk of heart disease, sexual vigor and excitement are great, sleeping the way they should without disturbances, and reducing their symptoms of aging. Our all-natural hormone optimization therapy is precise, easy, and effective from day one. Office visits are usually less than
We'll be back shortly.
per year, and the cost is only $150 per month for most patients. Let our medical team get you optimized and living your best life. Our family medical practice has been serving South Florida for over 71 years. Let us show you what personalized medical care and being treated like family feels like. Call us at 754-222-6642. That's 754-222-6642. Or visit us at lighthousemedicalcenter.com to schedule your consultation today.
Love the outdoors and the open road? Don't miss RV Out, Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Hosted by Giant Recreation World second generation owner and CEO Larry McNamara and his co-host Blaine Adams. RV Out, Saturday mornings 10 a.m. right here on the True Old.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale on 96.9 FM, and anywhere in the world at TrueOldiesFLA.com.
All right, welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Martin County.
Hey, Cynthia.
Hey, Brian, how are you?
Okay.
As usual, you're doing a great job. I just wanted to make a couple comments. Number one, I'd like to talk about Viktor Orban with Tucker. His statement that Trump is the only one that can, that can fix our problems.
He said the only one that can end the war in Ukraine and save our civilization, he said.
Yes. Well, and I'll tell you, going back a year ago, I read the American Conservative magazine, a lot of other really heavy-duty think articles, and what I would tell you is there is a movement out there called Orbanism, and they put this out there saying that we should look at the policies that Viktor Orban has done in Hungary, and it's absolutely right. And some of the policies that Trump had done, President Trump, under when he was president, he did some of those same policies. We're looking towards that. It is a Christian country. Is it conservative? I wouldn't call it that. I would say it is. They build churches. They don't tear them down, and they're pro-family. So, there's all these great policies.
Well, and they lived under communism for a long time, and they understand what it is.
So I think that people need to take a look at that and really follow Viktor Orban and look what Trump is doing and read what he has proposed in his plan. And I think that we can get him elected by that, because people have to understand there are so many shills out there and so many people behind these candidates that are not for the American people. They are for themselves. They are for their donor class. And we're fighting, as far as I'm concerned, the government now with the corporations, and that is fascism.
Yeah.
We're seeing. You know, I was taking off, you know, I go on Twitter and I criticize. I don't use bad language. I use truth. I'm putting something on there now that somebody put an article out. It's unbelievable that Trump would pick Vivek for his VP. Well, you know, all you got to do is do the deep dive. I would say that if you want to see the deep dive, I would go to Thrive Time and look at General Flynn and Clay. It's a deep dive on Vivek. I mean, listen, people are not who they say they are, and it is really getting scary, and we have to be smart.
If their name is not Trump, the list of people you can trust is very short. Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Carrie Lake, and you don't get much further than that in government. You really don't.
I would say remember Orbanism. It's quite
okay. Sounds interesting. Yep. All right. Well, listen. All right. Appreciate the call. So let me get back to this. So Adam Carolla interviewed Tucker yesterday. And let me play another clip of this because it was just amazing. And as I described it earlier, this is the most unplugged, uncensored you have ever heard Tucker Carlson. And let me play this clip. This is interesting. He's talking about the media. You know, the members of the media, how do they get controlled to do all this propaganda on the air? Now, you got to remember, Tucker Carlson is on the inside. He started at CNN back when Clinton was president. Remember, he used to do Crossfire. And he's been at MSNBC, he's been at Fox. So when he shares these things, he knows the media, he knows the personalities, he knows how it works, and he also knows all these people in the government too, okay? So let me play this clip. This is Tucker Carlson yesterday with Adam Carolla talking about how the on-air talent are controlled by the networks and the cable news owners. And by the on-air talent, he's talking about the anchors of not just the nightly news, but your primetime anchors and all of these people that lie to us every day. How do they control them? Listen to this.
In general, I do think I know some a lot of not very talented people in television, but I know some talented people on TV who are still there, and a couple of them I've talked to, and like, you know, it's pretty nice out here. You should come. Part of the way those TV companies work, they're all the same in this regard, is they tell the on-air talent, like, you're a loser, you're nothing without us. They really get inside your head. I'm sure the movie business is the same way. And this is to lower the cost of talent. And they just constantly tell you how bad you are. No one ever says a good word to you. And I mean, I never had that because I refused to talk to anybody in management for many, many years. I never talked to anybody. But most anchors do. And they just feel so bad about themselves and so insecure that, like, they're afraid to go anywhere. Like, I'm a loser. I know I need this stupid company filled with layers of dumb people making bad programming decisions in order to do my work. I mean, they really think that. So it's sad. I'm thinking of one person in particular who's like a legit old friend of mine who works at a big TV channel, and he's famous, quite famous, but they mistreat the hell out of him. And I'm always saying to him, you know, no one's creative in your world. Like, you don't work with any creative people. They're all bureaucrats and functionaries. You are creative. You should leave. If you take a pay cut the first couple of years, no big deal. You'll be happy because you can do your thing. You can make your art, you know, without someone in your face all the time. But he's been so brainwashed that he won't go. It's sad.
Okay. So now this is interesting. Now play this clip because I want to ask you, who do you think he's talking about? I think I know who he's talking about. I'll tell you in a second. But he's talking about how they control these big-time media people, and it's not done through paying them so much money. It's done through humiliation. You're nothing without us, you know, degrading them and all this stuff. I think he's talking about Sean Hannity. Let me rewind it and play the end of it, and let me. I think he's talking about Sean Hannity. Who do you think he's talking about? Do you think it's Hannity or someone else?
Anybody, but most anchors do, and they just feel so bad about themselves and so insecure that like they're afraid to go anywhere. Like I know I need this stupid company filled with layers of dumb people making bad programming decisions in order to do my work. I mean, they really think that. So it's sad. I'm thinking of one person in particular who's like a legit old friend of mine who works at a big TV channel, and he's famous, quite famous, but they mistreat the hell out of him. And I'm always saying to him, no one's creative in your world. Like, you don't work with any creative people. They're all bureaucrats and functionaries. You are creative. You should leave. If you take a pay cut the first couple of years, no big deal. You'll be happy because you can do your thing. You can make your art, without someone in your face all the time. But he's been so brainwashed that he won't go. It's sad.
Okay. I think he's talking about Sean Hannity. Who do you think he's talking about? And yes or no, do you agree with me? He's talking about Hannity. He said someone big, it's a guy, they're a big star, and he said a big channel. And, the people that are on the air at Fox News, they don't call Fox News in their conversations, they call it the channel. Have you ever heard them say that? It's Fox News Channel, but if you ever hear anyone from Fox News talk about Fox News, they don't say Fox News or Fox, they call it the channel. So I think he's talking about Hannity. And this is really interesting as it is concerning. And I feel sorry for Hannity if it's him. What Tucker Carlson is talking about here in some detail is that he is incredibly humiliated. He's incredibly humiliated. And he says a good friend, and another reason I think it's Hannity is because they did the handoff every night all those years. Tucker wasn't at the studio in New York to be friends with these in-studio people. The one he would have the most contact with would be Sean Hannity, and it's somebody who's still there. So I think he's talking about Hannity. You let me know who you think he's talking about. Now, I want to tell you guys quickly about Dr. Appleton. We've got a holiday weekend coming up, Labor Day weekend. If you have aches and pains and are suffering, go see Dr. Appleton. Appointments aren't necessary and walk-ins are welcome. And talk to him about his laser wave pain treatment and get that pain out of you without taking drugs, without taking shots and injections and all that, so that you can have a fun-filled, active Labor Day weekend, okay? His number is 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. Online at AppletonChiro.com. He's my chiropractor, and he wants to be your chiropractic physician, too. Call Dr. Appleton, 954-973-0710, and say bye-bye to your pain and have a very active Labor Day weekend. We'll be right back.
Making morning radio great again. I think you're going to really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Someone texted me, they said they think it's Jake Tapper. I think it's Hannity, but...
Yeah,
okay. Who do you think he's talking about? Hannity, Tapper, do you have another one?
And now, a True Oldies traffic check, brought to you by the Palm Beach Kennel Club.
Gutfeld? Ah, that's a good guess. I think it's someone at Fox because he said channel. Yeah, the one thing Hannity does is when he interviews Trump, he wants to impress Trump with his knowledge. So he has this list of things that he thinks Trump wants to hear. It's ridiculous. If I were to interview Trump, I would just introduce him and say goodbye at the end. I mean, you just let Trump talk. And I've heard him correct Trump a couple times, which is crazy. Don Lemon, I don't think so. Gutfeld's a good guess. That's a good guess. Because he's a comedian, so there's talent there. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the friend part is why I say Hannity too. It's definitely someone from Fox, but I would lean towards Hannity, absolutely. He's trying to impress people. Yeah. Yeah. And Hannity did something that he got Alan Combs fired, and Steve was friends with Alan Combs. And so I've talked to Alan Combs a couple times. He's passed away. He was a liberal Democrat, but he wasn't like these Democrat losers we've got today. And he wanted the show to be Hannity instead of Hannity and Combs. I think he got them to get rid of Alan Combs and was very dishonest about it. It's not Jesse Waters. I don't see him being good old friends with Jesse Waters. And Jesse Waters isn't creative. No, I don't think he's talking about Jesse Waters. Gutfeld's a good guess, but I want to stick with Hannity. Alan Combs was a nice guy. Oh, that's for sure, Lori. They are snakes. And all his conservative virtue signaling with the lapel pins are ridiculous. No, I would agree. Yeah, Gutfeld. It could be Gutfeld, but I would still lean towards Hannity. But Gutfeld's a good guess. That's a good guess. Cherry Rivers. Geraldo Rivera? I don't think so. All right. All right, welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. Our number toll free, 1-888-GO-KANE, 1-888-465-2631. So let me get back to this because I haven't even gotten to hardly anything today because every clip I've played is such a deep dive into discussion that I haven't gotten to hardly any of my show prep, but that's okay. We're here every day. So anyway, I've played a couple clips from this incredible interview. Adam Carolla I haven't really ever watched him do an interview before, so I don't know I don't know too much about Adam Carolla. I mean, I know who he is. He was on The Apprentice, and I know about The Man Show. I know he's a comedian. And I saw him on Dancing with the Stars once, Adam Carolla. He's very funny. He can't dance. He was on Dancing with the Stars, and he was trying to get kicked off the show because he was embarrassing himself. So one night he rode out on the dance floor on a unicycle, like, please, get me off this show. He's a funny guy, Adam Carolla. But anyway, he interviewed Tucker Carlson yesterday, and Tucker Carlson just said things in a way that I've never heard him talk before. There was such a raw honesty. You know, the longer that he's free from Fox's control and that muzzle they had on him, the more he's sharing. So I've got a couple clips here. I played two. The first one I played in the first hour, I want to play again, and then I got one more that's pretty big too, that really is frightening, that I want to play for you in just a moment. But this is an amazing thing. He's talking here, Tucker Carlson, about what the uniparty, deep state, Joe Biden campaign strategy is against Trump, that they're in a panic to make sure that he's not reelected, and he's talking about what they are doing. Listen, this is Tucker Carlson, Unplugged yesterday.
The problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. If they've already been exposed, that won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. That's what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
Really?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And remember, when Tucker talks, he's got sources inside that know what's going on and tell him these things, okay? These aren't just things he's making up. He knows people on the inside that are in the rooms where these decisions are made, where the discussions happen. And just to add on to what he said there, I was talking about this in the first hour, but to put some perspective on this, no president has lost re-election while America's been at war. Never. Johnson doesn't count. He did not run for re-election during Vietnam. Okay? A president who has run for re-election during wartime has never been defeated. And that's why that's why they're going to amp up a war so they can stay out of jail for their crimes against President Trump. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Patty from New Jersey.
Hey, all right, Patty. What's up?
I just want to say that the people on the news should look at Tucker as an example, and they should all decide to do their own thing. There's plenty of space out there for them all. And at this point, like you were talking earlier, that these stations hold so much power over them because of money, and they need to let that big money go.
Well, it's easy to say that when you're not the one with the big money. I mean, like who do you think he's talking about when he says that there's a big name, it's a man being abused? Okay, you think it's Hannity?
There, and you think about it, Hannity is now got, he's been through a divorce. They've got dirt on him over this thing.
Well, it's not dirt. Listen. Hannity, I think it's Hannity too, who he says is being abused without mercy, okay, by the bosses. And it's not that he divorced years ago and kept it a secret. It's not that they got dirt. He's got alimony. His wife that he left, okay, she was with him when he was a nobody and poor, right, and stuck by him. So he's got an alimony.
That's what I meant when I said he got.
Yeah. So he's got alimony based on this amazingly large salary. He makes like $50 million a year or more, and he's got alimony based on that. So it's easy to say walk away from the money, but if you've got to pay $25 million a year in alimony, it's hard to walk away from the money.
Right, but you know what, Brian? The other thing is that the courts are set up that if there's a change in circumstances, if he were to go and he were to start his own show and his income was cut in half, as long as he's out there working, they would readjust his alimony payments. There are ways around. It's just like child support. If you get divorced and you've got a good job and all of a sudden you lose your job and you can't replace it because of the economy or whatever, the courts will readjust your alimony and your.
Listen. It's easy for you or me or someone to say, walk away from a $50 million a year plus salary guaranteed, okay, and go strike it out on your own. It's so easy to say that, isn't it? But it's another thing to do it.
Look at how Joe Rogan's different.
Well, hold on a second. They didn't do it by choice, okay? Tucker was fired from Fox News. By the way, he still works for Fox News, and he's still being paid, okay, by Fox News. They took him off the air. Joe Rogan was a second-rate B-level TV personality, right? He had Fear Factor, which was a hit for a while, but he was on what show was he on? Was it Ellen's show? What show? He was on a sitcom. I can't remember which one. He was like a C-level actor. So there was no risk. This was a step up, for him. So Megyn Kelly's a little different, okay? But it's similar. No, she didn't walk away. She was fired. She was fired by Fox, and then she was fired by NBC News. So after she was fired, then she went and did what she did. These are not people who said, I'm going to walk away from millions of dollars a year and do something. These are all people who were either fired or third-raters. So it's not the same thing as walking away like you're suggesting Hannity do out of principle. It's not the same thing. Now, if Hannity were fired from all of these things, that's a different story, okay? But all of these people you're talking about, they were either fired or it was a step up. Even Adam Carolla, okay? Adam Carolla, and I'll tell you, Adam Carolla and the WTF guy, those are the two first big podcasters. I modeled my entire podcasting business plan on those two guys. I haven't really talked about that, but on Adam Carolla and the WTF guy, okay? And before I started podcasting, I read every interview they did. I studied their business. I looked into their things, and but those are guys that it was a step up for them to do that. So no one that I know of at this top level has said, I'm done, I'm walking out, and then went on and had Sean Hannity walking away would be like Dan Rather walking away in 1992 and doing his own thing, or Tom Brokaw. No one's done that.
Well, all I can say is at this point, Brian, is what Americans are lacking right now is courage. And, I had a similar situation. We're not talking $50 million a year, but my fiance and I walked away from a very, big person with a lot of money who held a lot of power over the top of us. And, when we went through our big auction, when we were leaving where we were, a couple of people came up to us and said, look, don't look at this as a burn. Look at this person who left this guy. Look at this person who left this guy. Look at this person. They're all a lot better. You guys are going to be better off as well. It was a horrible hit, a financial hit. And you know what? Today, we are so much better off because we had the courage to just end it and be done with it.
Yeah.
We're being taken advantage of. So it takes courage. And yes, it's scary. It's horrible. But you know what? Sometimes you got to look at the bigger picture and look beyond that. Look beyond the money and try. There's already a track record of people out there making it post these huge contracts, and it's good.
Well, I'll remind you that Tucker. Do you know how much Tucker Carlson's making now? He had the largest viewed interview in the history of the interview with Donald Trump. Do you know how much he makes now from all of these things with the largest views ever?
I have no idea.
Zero, not a penny. He hasn't made 1 cent off of any of these things. Not a penny. He's still under contract from Fox, so he can't do anything that's for profit. I love Tucker. I'm not criticizing Tucker, but Megyn Kelly says he's still being paid by Fox. So he hasn't even walked away from the Fox money. Not that he doesn't want to. I think he'd like to be free of them, and they're keeping him under contract for control. But he is, according to Megyn Kelly, he's still getting that Fox money, according to Megyn Kelly.
Contract there, and it's all
that was a weekend show,
stuff.
not the same thing.
And I'm sure.
And he was
if
let
you
go
sat
too.
down with Tucker and said, "Look, would you give this up to go and do your own?"
Mm-hmm.
He's got the courage, and I think that's what it comes down to. Is at this point we've got to put our country, and all these people have families. Why would you sit in a place for your $50 million a year knowing that you...
Because listen, one thing I've learned about most people, okay, and except for me, this is not the case with me because I've seen this happen. Most people not everybody, most people live at whatever income level they're at. And, if you went to the neighborhood where Mar-a-Lago is, okay, which is the most wealthiest neighborhood really in America, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in America where Mar-a-Lago is, you'll see people with Porsches and Bentleys and Lamborghinis and Ferraris and everything else, but a lot of them are broke. They got a big mansion, they got a big house, but they're broke because they live at that income level that they're at, okay? So if you look at all these people that you've named, including Tucker, no one that's at that Hannity level has said, I'm not taking this anymore, I'm walking out, and I'm going to try to go it on my own. And I don't know of anyone at that level that has done it. Megyn Kelly was fired from Fox and then NBC. Tucker was taken off the air by Fox. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but no one has done it yet because that money is a drug. And I get, okay, listen, thanks for the call. I got to run. We'll be right back. All right, and it's time to check in with Attorney Barry Siegel from the Siegel Law Group. Attorney Barry Siegel, good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. Today I was going to talk about how
we often will leave assets to beneficiaries in a way that's not the outright distribution, but in trust. And that would be done for many reasons. It could be left in the trust for the bloodline protection, the things that we talk about with the potential divorces, lawsuits, creditors, and all kinds of things to protect people from things that happen all the time. But today I wanted to talk about, sometimes we'll set it up in trust to protect people from things that might be issues that they have themselves. Maybe we have a beneficiary that's just not good with money. They're going to spend it before they even receive it. They might have drug issues, alcohol issues, gambling issues, or they may even have special needs issues. And the special needs is very important because if we have a beneficiary that has some kind of incapacity, mental, physical, some kind of issue where they may be receiving government benefits either now or in the future, and most of these government benefits are needs-based, what we don't want to do is we don't want to leave them an inheritance that is going to go to them in their name and that will end up causing them to lose those government benefits because of the outright distribution. So what we do, it's something called a special needs trust. So if we have somebody that we may end up leaving assets to in our will or trust, we want to consider making sure that they don't lose those government benefits by setting up a special needs trust as the beneficiary of the person that we want to take care of.
There's so many things to consider, and let me tell you, whatever the story is, whatever the situation is, Attorney Barry Siegel and his staff over there at the Siegel Law Group have seen it, and they know how to protect you and your family during these times. So it's always a no-charge consultation with the Siegel Law Group if you mention you heard Attorney Barry Siegel on the radio. And, of course, the Siegel Law Group cover the entire state of Florida, right, in this era of Zoom and all this stuff. You can, no matter where you are in the state of Florida, the Siegel Law Group can help. Their number is toll-free, 1-855-FLA-3782. 855-FLA-3782, and online, SiegelLawGroup.com. Barry, I'm going to put you on hold because we got to talk to you off the air, okay? I'm sorry, I would have done that before you called in, but we're going to do it during the break. It's the Steve Kane Show, back after this.
We take on the social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show is on the air.
How long does that music go on? I mean, it's good music. I like it. Sorry about that. I had to talk to Barry during the break. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. So I got one more clip to play from the Tucker interview that Adam Carolla did, which was amazing and very revealing. I know everyone's talking about this interview's gotten a lot of press, and there's two things that everyone's talking about. And one thing he said about Trump that I don't think is appropriate to have a discussion about on the air, okay? And you guys can probably figure that one out. And then he talked about how everybody knew Obama is gay, okay? And everyone's talking about those two things in the news, and those are interesting and everything. And the thing about Obama is interesting. But the thing about Trump is not appropriate for public discussion, okay? So we can't, we're not going to talk about that. And the thing about Obama has been talked about so much, and everyone's talking about that. I listened to this interview that Tucker did with Adam Carolla. Adam Carolla interviewed Tucker, and I've listened to it twice, okay? I watched it yesterday, then I went back through it this morning to pull off the sound bites, and I've taken off this interview some sound bites that I think are very important that everyone's missing, including a big one that I've not played yet that I'm going to play shortly. But I'm going to take a call or two first, and our number is 1-888-GO-CANE-1. 888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Deerfield. What's up?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's probably Sean Hannity. I agree with that. But Brian, they dangle that $50 million a year. You got to ask yourself, if I leave here, is there a possibility? Where am I going to make that money? Am I going to be that successful to make that type of an income?
Well, it's easy for people to say, walk away. Tucker in that interview, when after that, he went into it. He says, I didn't walk away, I was fired. And he says, my kids are grown, so I don't have the expenses. And then he went on to talk about Tucker in that same interview. He said, during the Iraq War, he was lying on the air and supporting the war. And he said, I did it because I had young kids. I was in my 30s, and I had bills to pay, and all of this. So he says, now I'm beyond those. He says I'm beyond those pressures because my kids are grown. So it's and plus I was fired. He said so. He didn't make that. I agree. He's talking about Hannity. You agree with that?
I do. With like in Megyn Kelly's case, where the decision is kind of made for her, maybe it's really a blessing in disguise. I mean, she basically got fired twice from Fox and NBC, I think. Back in the day with Dan Rather and Tom Brokaw, different time. I mean, where would they go if they got fired?
A lot of times, people from the networks, when they were let go, they'd go work at a local news station somewhere.
Step down, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, sometimes it depends on what you do. If you're an anchor, yeah. But if you are a reporter, local news actually pays pretty well. At least they used to. Yeah.
In this case, I think I do think he's a conservative guy, and I think he's very unhappy working at Fox. So it may come to the time where it's just unbearable for him to be there.
Well, this is what I've always liked Hannity. He's got a lot of problems now. Okay. And the biggest problem I think he has is the fame and the power's gone to his head. Like, he has this list of teaching things. He always has to go through the list of things so the audience knows. And there's a lot, with celebrity comes a lot of self-importance. But the financial, I don't think people understand the financial pressure someone can be under at that level. You know, he not only does he have the alimony, but he's got kids, and even if his kids are adults, they've got a lifestyle. He's got a lifestyle. He's got Ainsley Earhart, they say, and it's, you know, and you've got debt, and you've got bills, and you've got, yeah.
To Palm Beach too?
He's got a place in Palm Beach. He's had it for a long time, not far from Mar-a-Lago. And by the way, these are, you know, Brett Baer has a place in Palm Beach down the street from Mar-a-Lago. You know who else does? Neil Cavuto. They all live around Mar-a-Lago. Neil Cavuto. Yeah, he's got the house with the extra wide doors because he needs them to fit through. But it's true. It's true. Yeah, the Chris Christie house. But no, you know, what Tucker Carlson talked about there is interesting, and no one picked up on this. He's saying that there's a guy at a big channel who's very famous who's being abused by the bosses to keep him in line and humiliated.
It's got to be Hannity.
My second guess would be Gutfeld, because he's talked about creativity, and Gutfeld's more of an artist because he's a comedian. But I don't think it's Gutfeld. I think it's Hannity because of the things that he said, and also since Tucker was never really there in New York, he was either at his house over on the west coast of Florida, or I forgot where his other house is. He was very rarely there. So the only person he had regular contact with at Fox News Channel was Hannity, because they did the handoff every night.
That's right. Did you see where Kelly's going to go to 9 o'clock?
Oh, on Newsmax at 9 o'clock at night, Greg Kelly? Good. That's good. So what did they flipped him with? Who's on at 9?
Yeah, you know, the Chris Pine show before him.
Oh.
10 and that. I'm not crazy about their show, but Kelly at 9 o'clock, that's wonderful.
I don't like that show either, I must tell you. That current 9 o'clock show with that Chris Plank. I don't think it's interesting. No.
It doesn't work at all.
That's great. So I'll get to catch Greg Kelly. You know, Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is, I believe, the best in cable news, and I thought that even when Tucker was on. Just this week, look at what he's had. Look at what Greg Kelly's had this week, right? That clip I played about the secret Biden tape, but then he had on Roger Ailes' wife. Oh no, that was Bowling, had Roger Ailes' wife on. But last night, Greg Kelly had on Harrison Floyd. First interview out of the lockup in Fulton County, and that Harrison Floyd interview that Greg Kelly did last night, I watched it. Was an interview that has not gotten picked up anywhere in the media. The one black person of the Trump 19, the one black man out of the Trump 19, there was a black woman that worked for Kanye. The one black man out of the Trump 19 in Fulton County didn't get bail. He was in jail a week, and he gets out, and there's no media coverage. Come on. And he told Greg Kelly when he went into the jail cell that there was feces smeared all over the wall.
Yes, indeed. Now he's eyeing a political career when he gets out of jail.
He's going to run for Congress, he said?
Yeah. Interesting.
But where? I might have missed it. Did he say where he's going to run for Congress?
No, I don't think he did. He was kind of saying, I'm eyeballing a political career when I leave. Actually, Kelly had to kind of go back. He was going to end the interview and say, oh, wait a second. And then they had to mention the fact he's going to run for Congress.
Well, I'm curious how Greg Kelly got that interview. They're both Marines, so I don't know if there's a connection there, or if no one really wanted to interview Floyd. To me, the one black man out of those that didn't get bail and he spent a week in the Fulton County jail, the media should have been waiting outside the jail for him to come out and talk, and nobody was there. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. I don't know. It was a pretty good interview. You know, Kelly, when he was at Fox, I thought was very marginalized over there. And now that he's at Newsmax, he's really shining.
I do not even remember him when he was on Fox.
They put him like on a panel with 4 or 5 the other less talented people, I would say. And he just kind of had to blend in with them. And I always thought he just wasn't comfortable there.
Greg Kelly's number one at Newsmax by far. He's very good. Now, Eric Bowling gets a lot of good interviews because he knows these people. Like the interview that Bowling did with Roger Ailes' wife this week was very good. And Roger Ailes' wife was talking about why Fox News is failing as opposed to when her husband was running the joint. It was pretty. It was very interesting. So they, but
I think Gary Bowen has improved
quite a bit since maybe a year or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
More comfortable, get better interviews, better guests than that.
Well, when he was on at 7 o'clock, he beat Fox News. Jesse Waters got that 7 p.m. time slot, and they demoted Martha McCallum because Greg Kelly at Newsmax was beating Fox. And in fact, Chris Ruddy was on last night on Newsmax on Rob Schmidt's show talking about the ratings bump that they've gotten since the Fox exodus. And I didn't get the whole breakdown, but the 7 o'clock show, which is Rob Schmidt on Newsmax, and that's been Jesse Waters' time slot. Now, I know they moved Jesse, but before they moved him, Rob Schmidt, his numbers have gone up 35% since the Fox News exodus, and they fired. Wow. And Newsmax has gone up overall, but a 35% increase against Jesse Waters is huge for Newsmax.
You know, Rob Schmidt, I did the interview with Mar-a-Lago with Trump, and I thought it was very good, very good.
Yeah, it was very good.
Improved quite a bit too.
He's great. He's number 2, but it's a close second. Listen, I got to run for the break. Thanks for the call. We'll take our break for the top. Steve Kane will be joining us after this. Don't go anywhere.
WWNN Pompano Beach, WIRK HD3 Indiantown. Programming paid for by Vic Canales Media Group. Broadcasting from the Robe Studio. Injured recently? Call the Robes Law Group, where winning is a habit. 561-570-5700. 561-570-5700. Robes, winning for you and our community. Your home for the Steve Kane Show. From the Palm Beach Patio Furniture Weather Center, where luxurious outdoor spaces are created, here's the Oldies forecast.
Good morning, South Florida. First morning meteorologist Vanessa Vaness from WPBF 25 News. You know, a couple lingering showers.
Great show today. It has flown by.
In the afternoon.
It really
we'll
has.
See that heat advisory taking place later on this morning for the Palm Beach.
I mean, my goodness.
7 o'clock this evening. Feels like temperatures reaching the triple digits with hot temperatures.
You know, out of that interview, I have 3 clips of Tucker, and I still haven't gotten to the third one. The conversation has been so good. The caller quality today has been very, very good. Oh, I'll be right back. I go talk to Mike.
I think there was one thing off when I first came in, but I'm pretty sure it's on now.
Yeah, I think it was because of the DL. And everything seems on now, so.
Yeah, well, it should work.
Yeah. But if it doesn't, yeah, just to get a heads up.
It should be good. Actually, let me make sure that there's no one blocking it.
Region where Idalia made landfall as a Category 3. The storm now downgraded, bringing heavy rain and wind to Georgia and the Carolinas.
Thinking this week, what we have damaged so far is minimal, compared to Florida.
Tybee Island, Georgia Fire Chief Jeremy Kendrick. A federal federal judge holding Rudy Giuliani liable in a defamation lawsuit brought by two Georgia election workers who say they were falsely accused of fraud. The CDC confirms a newer COVID-19 Omicron subvariant, BA.286, has been identified in at least 4 states. This is ABC News.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America N.A.
Hurricane season is here, and now is the time to make a plan and secure your home. Take inventory of your home's hurricane preparedness kit. Don't forget about your pets. Even if you evacuate, secure your home's windows and doors from the storm. Being prepared helps protect your family and home. This hurricane season, don't delay. Make a plan today. Know your zone, know your home. Learn more at floridadisaster.org. This message is sponsored by Florida Division of Emergency Management, Florida Association of Broadcasters. This radio station.
On the air since 1977, it's the Steve King Show with Brian.
All right, hour number 3 has begun. The show is flying by. I'm Brian Craig. Steve joining us. Hey, Steve.
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm good. Let me tell you, the quality of calls today has been incredibly elevated. I mean, we've had great calls with a lot of great input today. The show has flown by, and oh my goodness, I know they are now. Yeah.
John Kerry Jr. is evidently caught up in some of this, the net of, I don't know what to call it.
Well, yeah, John Kerry's stepson was involved in the Chinese scandals with Hunter.
Now starting to be, you're reading it more in the coverage than you were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe a plan before it's over.
I don't know. I think the vice presidential talk is just them trying to make these debates interesting, because Trump's not going to do any of the debates. And Fox announced yesterday who the hosts were going to be of their second presidential debate without Trump. Stuart Varney, and I forgot the second one. We've had Stuart Varney on the show many times. He's a good guy. Oh, I think it's beautiful. No one's watching. So I think this VP, the New York Post is part of News Corp. I think this VP they're trying to create, there's no interest in the debates because Trump's not there, right? They had very low ratings on the last one. So they're trying to convince you that Trump's running mate is one of these people. And, Trump said he's interested in Rameshwar. So to try to get people interested in these people that no one's interested in watching in a debate. If they're running to be vice president, maybe that'll get people to watch next time. I think it's a racket. But I don't trust any of those grifters to be the vice president with, and not especially Pence, but I don't trust any of those grifters to be Trump's vice president that are running. I like Marjorie Taylor Greene myself, but, is she mentioned in the Post? Well, I got a couple things I hadn't finished up on yet, and I got a new poll too that I want to get to. But okay, now I wanted to finish up with this Tucker Carlson interview that was yesterday with Steve. This interview, Tucker Carlson did not do the interview; he was interviewed. Okay, and he was interviewed by Adam Carolla, who's pretty well known, and Adam Carolla is friends with Trump. He was on The Celebrity Apprentice. So Adam Carolla interviewed Tucker, and Steve, it was the most open, unplugged, uncensored Tucker Carlson I have ever seen. The things that he was talking about on this interview were amazing. Now, there are two things from the interview that I'm not playing because everyone's talking about those. And but there were a lot of other things I thought were more interesting than that. Well, one is he says everybody knows Obama's gay. Okay, he talked about that. That's getting a lot of publicity in the press, but we've been talking about that for years. And then he said something about Trump that we cannot talk about on the air, that I'll tell you after the show what that was about, because I don't want to get a discussion going about that, because you can't. But and you guys that are familiar with the story know what I'm talking about. But I have three clips I pulled out of it that I've been playing, and he's talking a lot about the media. And I have one clip I've not played, but I'm not going to play that one quite yet. I want to play the other two first, and then I'll play the third one that I've not played yet, okay, for people that are just tuning in. So this is from the interview that Adam Carolla did in his interview with Tucker Carlson yesterday. The first one, he's talking about the campaign strategy of the Never-Trumpers, the Democrats, and the Uniparty, okay, and what they're going to do to stop Trump from becoming president again. Listen to this. This is clip one.
The problem with criminalizing politics is the people who do it imagine or know that it will be done to them. So once you start indicting your political opponents, you know that you have to win, or else they're going to indict you if they win, right?
Right.
And so they can't lose. They will do anything to win. So how do they do that? They're not going to do COVID again. I know everyone on the right's afraid they're going to do COVID and mask mandate. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. They've already been exposed. That won't work. There's going to be, no, what are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia. That's what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course.
Okay, now remember, Tucker's on the inside, so he's not just making stuff up. He has contacts and friends that are inside the rooms where all these discussions and plans are made, telling him stuff. So, and as I was saying, a president has never lost re-election during time of war. So he says they're running for their freedom in the Uniparty because they're afraid, because of everything they've been doing to Trump, that Trump's going to come in and lock them all up. Merrick Garland, Biden, and all of them. So they're running for their freedom. That's a pretty big comment to make. And
reasonable option.
Well, it's not an unreasonable assumption, I would say. Yeah. Yeah, that shows you they're really desperate, because they know what they're doing to Trump is criminal, and then they see how popular he is, and they're running scared. Now, this next clip is the little bit of a mystery. We've been trying to figure out who he's talking about here. I believe he's talking about Hannity. He's talking about Tucker, how the media management of these big news organizations control their anchors that are on the air, their host and anchors. How do they control them? How do they get them to spread lies and propaganda and fake news? And he tells a real sad story. He doesn't say who, but I think he's talking about Sean Hannity. So I'll play this, and you can let me know who you think he's talking about, Stephen. If any of you in the audience agree or disagree that he's talking about Hannity, you're welcome to call us.
In general, I do think I know some a lot of not very talented people on television, but I know some talented people on TV who are still there, and a couple of them I've talked to, and it's pretty nice out here. You should come. Part of the way those TV companies work, they're all the same in this regard, is they tell the on-air talent, like, you're a loser, you're nothing without us. They really get inside your head. I'm sure the movie business is the same way. And this is to lower the cost of talent. And they just constantly tell you how bad you are. No one ever says a good word to you. And I mean, I never had that because I refused to talk to anybody in management for many, many years. I never talked to anybody. But most anchors do. And they just feel so bad about themselves and so insecure that, like, they're afraid to go anywhere. Like, I need this stupid company filled with layers of dumb people making bad programming decisions in order to do my work. I mean, they really think that. So it's sad. I'm thinking of one person in particular who's like a legit.
Okay, now this is the person. This is where he gets some specifics. I think he's talking about Hannity here. Who do you think he's talking about?
Work. I mean, they really think that. So it's sad. I'm thinking of one person in particular who's like a legit old friend of mine who works at a big TV channel, and he's famous, quite famous, but they mistreat the hell out of him. And I'm always saying to him, no one's creative in your world. Like, you don't work with any creative people. They're all bureaucrats and functionaries. You are creative. You should leave. If you take a pay cut the first couple of years, no big deal. You'll be happy because you can do your thing. You can make your art, without someone in your face all the time. But he's been so brainwashed that he won't go. It's sad.
Okay, so it sounds like he's talking about someone. It sounds like Hannity to me. Hannity's humiliated and abused by Fox News management.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you say Hannity? I mean, because the only other person I could think of there would be Gutfeld. But why do you say? I think Hannity too. Why do you think Hannity?
Well, it's hard for me to imagine Gutfeld taking that kind of abuse. I mean.
Yeah, because he's a talented comedian who tours, so I think he's aware, and he had that huge rating success with the late night show. So I think Gutfeld feels he could strike it on his own if he wanted to. Just on the comedy circuit alone, he could probably make a very, very good living, maybe even greater than he's doing now, because he doesn't have time to dedicate to it.
Very controllable.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Now I have one clip I've not played on the air yet. I'm going to play it after the break, and this is a big one. And he's talking about who controls the media and how it's done. And again, this is Tucker Carlson. He was interviewed by Adam Carolla yesterday. And everyone in the news is covering the thing he said about Trump, which we're not going to talk about, and the thing about Obama being gay. And they're not getting into any of this stuff. They're getting into the surface stuff, some of it really like gossip, as opposed to getting into the meat of what he let us know about yesterday on this interview, Tucker Carlson. So I got one more clip I've not played yet. We'll play it right after the break. We'll be right back.
Sidelines. Get in on the action. Call the Steve Kane Show live on air now. 888-GO-KANE-1. This is the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig.
Hey, it's Scott Shannon here with a question. How would you like a free doorbell camera? You get a doorbell camera, you get a doorbell camera, and you get a doorbell camera. I wish we had them for everyone, but the first 40 true oldies channel listeners to call 833-283-5050 will get a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your cell phone with installation of your Sloman Shield. You can see your home right from the palm of your hand. And that's not all. Sloman's going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. So you're getting an LED touchscreen pad, a motion detector, 3-arm doors, and a backup battery. Plus, if you're one of the first 40 true oldies channel listeners to dial 833-283-5050, you'll receive a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. So call Sloman's now for this limited time offer, 833-283-5050. That's 833-283-5050.
Are you exhausted after work with no energy left in the tank to give your family? Are you having a midday crash on a daily basis? Women, are menopause symptoms like hot flashes, anxiety, and depression making your daily life feel far more difficult than it should? Men, do you feel like you are aging far beyond what you should? Is your sexual life and relationship suffering because of disappointments in the bedroom? Then take action and let our medical team at Lighthouse Medical Center help you stop the symptoms that are holding you back. We use all natural hormone optimization therapies with precision technology to help solve your problematic symptoms. Our family-owned practice has had the honor of serving our South Florida community for over 71 years. Call us right now and let our medical team get you optimized and feeling the way that you should. Life is too short to be running at less than 100%. You and your family deserve the best version of you. Call us at 754-222-6642 or visit us at lighthousemedicalcenter.com to schedule your consultation today.
It's cataract surgery season. Middleman Eye Center is offering the next level experience in IV-free cataract surgery. New technology, new lenses, and a new office-based surgery experience awaits you. Contact Middleman Eye Center. Call or text 561-500-2020 or visit us on the web at middlemaneye.com to schedule or for more information.
When it comes to dental work, there's no one better than Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. But don't just take my word for it. This is Richie the bus driver. He called in on the air to share his experience with Dr. Gupta. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Richie. Dr. Gupta. I go 139 miles to this guy. I had a broken tooth. He fixed it. It was supposed to be temporary. It lasted 2 years. He put dentures in my mouth that are a lot cheaper than anybody else. And he's excellent and no pain. I recommend this guy. To me, he's the best ever. So I want to get that out of the way.
Listen to Richie the bus driver. Go see Dr. Gupta at Brighton Dental. 954-922-4633. 954-922-4633.
Now back to the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. Listen in the Palm Beaches on 95.9 FM, the Treasure Coast on 106.9 FM, hear us in Boca on 95.3 FM, Fort Lauderdale on 96.9 FM, and anywhere in the world at TrueOldiesXLA.com.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. Calls on hold. Stand by. I was just thinking of Richie's call in the first hour when the last commercial in that break was Richie. Oh my God, Steve, you wouldn't believe what Richie told me today. You and I are not free. We're not free because we do commercials. We're slaves to commercials, he says. Yeah, exactly. And then we had a discussion. I said, when people were riding the bus that you were driving, and they're, people ride the bus, they go to work, and every block they hear ding, ding, and it's got to stop. Well, that's what paid for the bus, right? And that's what we do. And I'd forgotten about that call until I heard Richie in the commercial in the last break who was complaining that we're slaves. All right, let me take a call or two, then I'll play the last clip that I have from Tucker's just amazing interview that Adam Carolla did with him. Tucker was the one being interviewed this time, which was fascinating. And I got a new poll out on Trump that I haven't shared yet either. Oh, yeah, we'll get that. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Ivy and Broward. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Ivy, how you doing?
Hey, great. I wasn't going to call in, but Brian did a live show on the weekend, and I had an analogy that came off my mind. I figured it would apply. When Trump gets back into office, it's as I can't even talk. It's like when you're getting evicted out of your house for the first time or out of your apartment. Eventually, you'll get the court notice that the sheriff is going to come on a certain day to throw out all your stuff, right? So that's the fear. These people have never been in this position. They must continue to play the hand that they started. There's no turning back at this point. The lie must continue. So when the sheriff come knocking on the door and throwing out all of your belongings, this is Trump coming back into power, and the fear that they have inside, the anxiety that they have inside, knowing that they will come, they don't know where their future lies.
Yes.
Therein lies that then they will have to do whatever is necessary as to not have the sheriff.
Well,
okay, the war cannot stop. Remember, a couple of months ago, I made the analogy: two mob bosses fighting over basically the presidency. That America, even though we have a crazy
about the war, there's a wrinkle with the war that has to be taken into consideration, and that is that while we pretend to be on the side of Ukraine, and supporting Ukraine and giving them all these delectable arms packages, but on the bottom line, we're not delivering what we're promising, and they're dying in mass.
No.
In mass, as a result of.
Yeah. Well, let me play this last clip from Tucker. Now, this was Tucker being interviewed yesterday, and he was talking about the control of the messaging in media and how it's done. Okay, and remember, he's been on cable news since Clinton was president. He used to be on Crossfire on CNN, then he was on MSNBC, and then finally at Fox News. Okay, so he's talking about things that he knows, he has experience with, and has seen happen. Listen, this is Tucker Carlson talking about the government control of the media messaging.
In general, I do think I know some talented, I know a lot of not very talented people on television, but I know some talented people on TV.
Oh no, that's I'm sorry, that's the wrong clip. Hold on, let me see here. Let me see. I'll have to pull it up. Well, maybe this is it. Hold on, maybe this is the right one.
Lived it for many years. It's true. The intel agencies have a big effect on what is broadcast on television and what you see.
Okay. This is the right clip. He's talking about the intelligence agencies and their control over the news that's on all of your cable news and nightly news.
Many years, it's true. The intel agencies have a big effect on what is broadcast on television and what you see on Facebook and Google as well. I mean, they're all up and down Facebook and Google, as I'm sure you know. And, there are a lot of anchors who, including people I know well and have worked with at different networks. I'm thinking of one in particular, national security reporter, who was just a mouthpiece for the Pentagon and the CIA and is knowingly telling lies on their behalf. That's very, very common, very common. And I can think of a number of people at CNN who I know for a fact are doing that exact thing.
Wow. Okay. So he says that there's a well-known national security reporter that is a mouthpiece for the Pentagon and the CIA. And he went on to say that Operation Mockingbird never ended, which is the CIA's control of the media. I wonder who he's talking. How many national security well-known reporters are there? There aren't that many. I don't know who we could be talking about, Steve. You have any ideas on that one?
No.
But it tells you don't trust what you see. If any of you have any idea who we could be talking about, we don't have any. It could be a female in this instance or a man. We don't have any gender, but it's somebody famous, somebody well-known on one of the big ones. And if you have any idea who he could be talking about, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Augustino. Okay, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Hello, Steve, if you're there. I don't know if you're there.
I'm here.
Okay, hey, Brian, I'm kind of upset, and I'd like to ask your opinion. Here, please, I just looked at my phone, and it said they're not going to let Donald Trump run.
Who's they? Who's not going to let? He's running for president now.
Said he's been disqualified.
Who says that?
It came on my news feed.
Oh, well, no, that's not true. He has not been disqualified.
Okay, we're sure of that, right?
Yeah, let me tell you, if Donald Trump was disqualified and was not permitted to run for president, you wouldn't have to call and ask me if it was true. That's all they'd be talking about. They'd be celebrating on TV like you've never seen before.
Okay, well, I don't want that because I'd like to write it. If I have to, I'll write his name in.
Well, I hope that's the last resort. But no, well, he has not been disqualified. I know they're fantasizing that he will be, but he is not.
It says on the news feed a high-ranking official.
Oh.
Right.
Oh well, what official? What's their name? What position do they? Who is this person who decides who can run for president or not?
I don't have it.
Okay. No, it's all nonsense. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay, so I don't have time for the poll. I'll do the poll after the break, but there's a new poll out involving Trump, which I obviously know is good news for Trump, But I'll give you the details of it because it's even bigger news, good news for Trump than is being reported. But, we got Labor Day weekend. This is a big weekend. It's a 3-day weekend, and this is a weekend where you want to go out, you want to do things, you want to be active, you want to play golf, you want to take a trip, you want to do some work in the house, and if you're in pain, it makes it difficult to do those things. So go see Dr. Appleton and talk to him about his laser wave pain treatment and take care of those aches and pains before the Labor Day weekend gets here so you can enjoy it. He's rid me of pain 5 times, 5 different types of pain, sometimes just from growing older like my arthritis, sometimes for injuries. His laser wave pain treatment works. Appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays, guys, okay? You can call him at 954-973-0710, 954-973-0710, and online, AppletonChiro.com. Call Dr. Appleton, go in, and say bye-bye to your pain. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show on the radio since 1977. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. We'll break and be right back.
Making morning radio great again. I think you're going to really love it. It's the Steve Kane Show with Brian Craig. The greatest rock and roll hits of the 60s and 70s coming up this morning. From the Palm Beach Patio Furniture Weather Center, where luxurious outdoor spaces are created, here's the oldies forecast.
Good morning, South Florida. First one meteorologist Vanessa from WPBS.
Oh, yeah, I'll get to the poll when we get back, and then I got a couple other things I have not touched on yet, including McConnell. We haven't talked about McConnell, but I got another thing, too, I want to share. I want to play that clip of John Mellencamp. What is John Mellencamp's big song? Does anyone remember? Why is John Mellencamp famous? I was never a big fan of his. What's his big song? I can't remember offhand. Little Pink Houses? Rockin' in the USA is a big one. Little Pink Houses. I can't hear that song in my head right now. Jack and Diane, oh my gosh, I hate it. When that song used to come on the radio or on MTV, I was out. I hate that song. Jack and Diane, oh my, thanks a lot for, now I got that song in my head. That song sucks. Oh, Jack and Diane, I can hear it in my head now. Thank you very much. You just ruined my whole day. Yeah, that's his big one, Jack and Diane. Little Pink Houses, I can't remember that song. Oh, I hate Jack and Diane. Oh my, I would not have asked if I had remembered Jack and Diane, I promise you. Well, he's a racist. Did you hear what he said? I'll play it a minute. I'll play it a minute. Did he drop the cougar?
You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Ryan. I just want to say thank you for Dr. Appleton because I'm from Orlando. It took 3 hours to go down there. It took my 90-year-old mom. My mom walks straighter than she ever walked in her life. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being such a willing vessel to talk about Dr. Appleton.
That's amazing. So you heard me in Orlando talking about Dr. Appleton and drove to South Florida with your mother to see him.
Yeah, my mom is awesome now. Awesome. No more arthritis, no more pills, none of that. She's going back to New York. She sits on a train for 24 hours. And I'm telling you, no pain. She gets off that train.
I wish I knew Little Pink Houses so I could get Jack and Diane out of my head.
Call Dr. Appleton and say bye-bye to your pain too. 954.
Well, having Jack and Diane in my head is the price I will have to pay to play his clip of racism. Oh my gosh, you love Jack and Diane? Oh my gosh. I hated the video and I hated the song on the radio. I never liked him. Never liked him.
Promo code Kane and check out KANE and buy your My Pillow 2.0. Right now, buy one, get one free. You can also order by phone, toll free, 800-716-4879. 1-800-716-4879. Promo code Kane.
Hi, this is Gabriel with Florida Cash Home Buyers. Are you looking to sell your home without the stress of a bunch of strangers walking through your home and having to make all kinds of repairs?
Yeah, well.
If you're a homeowner, business owner, or with a homeowners association and your roof is old or compromised, you need to call Tom Laporta at Laporta Contracting. Tom Laporta will give you a free evaluation. Laporta Contracting was voted one of the best general contractor and best roofers in South Florida. He's honest, knowledgeable, and reliable, and will never sell you you don't need. If you have an insurance claim, call your insurance company immediately. Then call Tom Laporta. New laws are in effect that allow Tom to negotiate directly with your insurance company on the cost of all repairs, so you don't necessarily need to employ a public adjuster or a lawyer. Tom can handle any type of roofing job too. Residential roofing and repair, commercial roofs, schools, municipal buildings, office buildings, emergency repairs. If it's roofing, Tom Laporta can do it. Call Tom Laporta right now. 954-604-4602. 954-604.
Born in a Small Town, that's a big one. Big song, yeah. I can hear that song in my head too. Little Pink Houses, I don't remember. I'm sure I'd know it if I heard it. All right, we're back. It's the Steve Kane Show. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. Yeah, John Cougar Mellencamp's a racist. I'll play you the audio. Remember John Cougar Mellencamp, Steve? Oh, he was a singer in the 80s. I'm sure he still sings, just nobody's interested in hearing him anymore. But he said something about black people. I'll play in a moment. But there's a new poll out, Trump versus Biden, with Biden winning, or Biden losing, Trump winning. And let me go through this poll, because this poll is being reported, and they're saying that head-to-head, barely winning. But not only is Trump winning, he's winning much larger than the poll suggests. Okay, in the new poll, it's a nationwide poll. Trump versus Biden. 44 say they'll vote for Trump. 43 say Biden. So when you look at that story, oh, he's only a point ahead. He's barely beaten Biden in this nationwide poll. And then you go to look at who they polled. They polled 1,500 U.S. adults. And these sample sizes in all these national polls are so small. I do polls on our online platforms, and I get more people responding by far than these national polls. But anyway, when it comes to polling, there are three types of polling. The least scientifically accurate is this one, adults, okay? The most scientific accurate, when you're doing political polling, the most scientifically accurate polling are likely voters, okay? If you ever see a likely voter poll. A likely voter is defined as someone who was voted in the past. They're registered to vote. They're an American registered to vote. They voted in the last 2 elections and are planning on voting in the next one. That's a likely voter. That's the most scientific polling sample there is with politics. The one just beneath that are registered voters, okay? They may not even vote, but they're registered to vote, so, but they're not as accurate as the likely voters. And the least accurate are adults. Adults they may not even be registered to vote, right? So who cares what they think if they're not going to vote, if they're not registered to vote? So this is it. So when you have a poll of adults, it's incredibly left-leaning. So on any poll of adults, you've got to add, when Trump's involved, you've got to add a minimum of 10 points to the poll. Maybe even 15, but I'll be conservative and add 10. So in this poll, he's 11 points ahead of Biden. It's not just 1 point ahead because of who they sampled. So when you see these polls, you got to look at the sample to see who they're talking to. And then, so they try to say, oh, he's barely ahead. We got to get Ramaswamy. We got to get DeSantis. He's looking good after the storm. Trump's only 1 point ahead. No, he's at least 11 points ahead in this poll if it was done of likely voters. But they found the most liberal sample they could, and they said this is the result, right? I mean, you always got to look for the sampling in any poll to know how accurate it is, okay? Even in a likely voter poll, you got to add 5 points to Trump minimum, okay? Because they're always looking to oversample Democrats than Republicans and all that stuff too. Okay, so John Cougar Mellencamp. You don't remember John Cougar Mellencamp? Oh my goodness, he's kind of like a wannabe Bruce Springsteen. He likes to sing in cornfields so he can act like he's a farmer and he's down, just down with us all. You know what I mean? But I never liked John Cougar Mellencamp. I never liked him. I never liked his music. Whenever his songs came on the radio, I was out. When his videos came on MTV, I was out, But anyway, he sat down. This is John Cougar Mellencamp, who I understand has dropped the Cougar and now is just John Mellencamp. Bill Maher does interviews from his home. And these interviews are with well-known people and celebrities and former celebrities like John Cougar Mellencamp. And they're either smoking weed or drinking alcohol during the interviews. So they're either drunk or high during the interviews, okay? And Bill Maher's always smoking a big Cheech and Chong joint. And whoever he's interviewed, if they're not smoking weed, they're drinking and doing shots. And those interviews are very good because you get honesty, right? The inhibitions are lowered because they're drunk, they're high. So John Cougar Mellencamp told us what he thinks about black people. in this interview. So John Cougar Mellencamp, do they play John Cougar Mellencamp in our music? I doubt he's on this. Okay, good. Because then we'd like his music. No, I'm kidding. But this is John Cougar Mellencamp yesterday talking about black people to Bill Maher. Listen.
That's why people love to have black people entertain us.
I would say that the playing fields are a lot better than the cotton fields. That's what I would say about that. Maybe I'm crazy, John, but it seems like making no money as a slave picking cotton was not as good as playing left field for the Yankees. I mean, I'm sure there were reasons why. Dave Winfield has some beefs against Steinbrenner. I'm sure.
No doubt, there is 1 or 2% of black people in America who have a better life.
Oh, stop. That's what you think? 1 or 2%?
Okay, let's say 10%.
Okay. So 10% of American blacks have a better life than the slaves on the slave plantation. His first guess was only 2%. Then he wanted to save face. So John Cougar Mellencamp believes, and by the way, Bill Maher's pretty racist there too, but John Cougar Mellencamp thinks that 90% of blacks in this country are living like slaves prior to the Civil War. That's how he views you. The rest of you are slaves. Now let's get to Bill Maher. I love these guys doing interviews drunk and high. I love listening to drunk, high, liberal celebrities talk about the issues because you get to hear what they really think. So does Bill Maher thinks that the only successful black people are athletes and entertainers? He does. I mean, what, there aren't black members of Congress and the military, lawyers, accountants, doctors, surgeons like Dr. Ben Carlson? What's he talking about? And even John Cougar Mellencamp, the only blacks that are successful that are better off than slaves are entertainers because we white people love having blackies entertain us, he said. I mean, my goodness. Steve, I've not heard two guys talk like this. This is like I'm watching some old silent when the talkies first came in the 20s and 30s. I mean, I can't believe the way they're talking. We love black people entertaining us. That's it. When they're high and drunk. When you're high and drunk, don't go on the air, guys. I did that once on New Year's. It was not smart. Oh my goodness. Do you? I hope not. I hope no one remembers that. Don't drink and drive, okay? And if any tapes of that show exist, burn them. Don't send them to me. That was awful. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. It's Juan.
Hey, Juan.
Right. Hey, good morning. Hey, listen, you refer, going back to, a while ago when you said Sean Hannity, that Tucker Carlson was talking about Sean Hannity.
Yeah.
There's three people that I can remember that started with Fox. That's Ducey, Kilmeade, and Hannity. So I don't know which one of those three, but I know that two out of those three people have betrayed Donald Trump. Sean Hannity is not one of them. And in fact, Sean Hannity was on the verge of getting fired back in 2018. He said it on his
Mm-hmm. So who do you think Tucker Carlson's talking about?
That one, I'm just throwing this out there, to see if your intelligent audience can, figure. I'm throwing that out there for analysis because I frankly don't know. I frankly don't even know. But Sean, again, I'm getting repetition. But Sean Hannity was going to get fired, so what we say in Indiana. They hauled him in.
But in 2018 wasn't Roger Ailes still running the place?
I don't know that.
I think so. So I think what Tucker is referencing is the post Roger Ailes period.
So too, because that's when everything is gone to hell. The Fox has gone to hell in a handbasket. And Donald Trump on Truth Social told everybody. I don't know if you brought this up or not. I got to the show late, and I apologize for that. He said, that the Fox News needs to straighten out their act because they're going in the wrong direction. And this was yesterday with Greg Kelly. I don't know if you saw him last night because I know you got to work all that stuff. So, but if you I got the Newsmax application. You can
yeah.
This days. And go ahead and
you'll see where Donald Trump, he played Donald Trump like a good 15 or 20 minutes on his show yesterday, because, I mean, Newsmax is the true author.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Hey, listen, thanks for the call. Nothing, zero. There's no subscriptions. It's free to watch it online. They don't charge you. It's free. Yeah, their app is free. It's free. And yeah, I have it on all my mobile devices, my phone and my iPad and everything else. Now, we're going to take our last break. When we get back, we'll take some more calls. And then there's one other story I've not gotten to yet that we got to talk about when we get back. There's so much going on here. But, you know, this conversation with Bill Maher and John Cougar Mellencamp is the most racist conversation I have heard since color television came in. I mean, I've never heard two guys sitting around saying such terrible things about black people as I heard those two. And then they pat themselves on the back for their liberal do-gooding. Yeah, I know. These, you know what they are, Steve? They're two liberal white saviors to the African American community. And John Cougar Mellencamp to say that we only like black people when they're entertaining us, either acting, singing, or athletics, and we don't like it. When he says we, he's talking about himself, right? I mean, and the rest of you, 98% of blacks, you're just like, you're no better off than the blacks on the plantation during the days of slavery. That tells you he has zero contact with black people in his life, other than singers and athletes. All right, if you're on hold, stand by. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back.
Cold, hard, truth. Delivered morning 6 to 9 right here on the...
All right, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated with the Morning Gold and Precious Metals Report. William Youngerman, how are the metals looking? Oh, there you go. Yes, William. Sorry, I had to hit the on button. How the metals looking, William Youngerman?
Oh, metal's looking good, Brian. Yesterday we saw gold go all the way up to about $1,950 for the first time in a while, trading in the range of $1,935 to $1,950 and closing at $1,942, which was up $4.80 on the day. Silver got up to $25.10 an ounce. We haven't seen silver over 25 for a while. It did pull back and close down 12 cents at $24.59. Platinum got up to almost $1,000 yesterday and then pulled back to close at $976, down $3. Palladium closed $20 down at $1,198. This morning, gold up $2 right now at $1,944. Silver down 4 cents at $24.55 the ounce. Platinum down $4 at $972, and palladium down $4 at $1,194. Oil has been moving up very slowly, but not to a lot of fanfare, not much talk about it, but it's over $82 a barrel now, which is, again, very inflationary going down the road. So we've got to watch these markets because they're really spelling one thing, and that is gold's going higher.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, William, I imagine a lot of people, they come into your store and they want to buy gold, they want to buy silver, and they know exactly what they want. I want a gold eagle, I want a buffalo, I want those beautiful Austrian Philharmonics, all that stuff. But a lot of people come in, they probably don't know. They just say, okay, I've got so much money, I want to buy gold, I want to buy silver. What do you tell somebody like that when they don't know what they want? They just know they want to get involved in the metals. I've got money, I want to buy gold, I want to buy silver. What do you got? How do you recommend what someone gets?
Well, you know, all the metals we sell are top brands, and we show them all the different things that they can buy, and then maybe steer them towards whatever we think is the least premium at the time so that they get the most gold or the most silver or platinum per dollar invested. And that's pretty much what they have. If they look at particular coins and say, oh, that's beautiful, I'd like to have one of those and one of those and one of those, they certainly have the option to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you've never bought the metals before, William Youngerman's you can also do this over the phone if you can't make it in, but William Youngerman is a great place to go. They'll walk you right through it, and it's very, anytime someone's never done anything, they're a little nervous, no need to be nervous, they'll walk you right through it, and I think you'll find your favorites right off the bat. Listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. You can stop in at 150 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca, on the first floor of the Bank of America building, just east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto Park Road. Online at williamyoungerman.com or give him a call, 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010. All right, William Youngerman, take care. All right, back after this.
Social justice warriors for breakfast. Now the Steve Kane Show is on the air.
All right, welcome back. I'm Brian, Steve Kane here. Okay, so the one last soundbite. Mitch McConnell yesterday blanked out again. Let me play this. This is yesterday. Mitch McConnell blanked out for, I don't know, Steve, a long time. He was asked.
The kind of episode that he had fairly recently where he just kind of freezes.
Yeah, some say stroke, some say seizures. Here it is.
What are my thoughts about what? Running for re-election in 2026. That's right.
Oh, now he's just out of it. That's just the air conditioner you're hearing. And he's blank stare.
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
Oh, my goodness. More blank stare.
All right, I'm sorry, you all are going to need a minute. Senator. Any?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, let me fast forward a little bit. This goes on forever.
Somebody else have a question? Please speak up.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Hear that thing with Mitch McConnell. I flash in on Joe Pine's last show, and we had to bring the curtain down before the audience warm up because Joe couldn't go.
What happened? He had a stroke?
I don't know. I mean, I never got a medical analysis on him. What happened is he called me over to the side of the set, and he said, "Tell them to bring down the fire curtain," which is the
Yeah.
audience.
That's how long ago it was. The curtains were made of asbestos.
Yeah. And that was on Broadway too. But anyway, it was very. He could barely talk. He couldn't.
Yeah.
To carry that in the chair, it was quite.
Well, you know, this thing with Mitch McConnell, okay, this is the second time it's happened, and it's pretty scary. And they've got two of these, right? We've got one, they got one. Dianne Feinstein's worse than him. And in fact, Dianne Feinstein, and she hasn't resigned from the Senate yet, has she, Steve? Unless I missed it. She signed over power of attorney to her daughter. She can't even function, so she signed power of attorney over to her daughter, but she still is sitting voting in the Senate.
Thing is, how is this obviously going to affect whoever his successor is?
He's got 2 years left, Mitch McConnell. He's not up till 26.
He can't move. He can't function.
Well, this is the thing. The
Republican Party
in Kentucky.
In Kentucky, it was supposed to be
I forgot his name.
a very hot political prospect figure in the discussions, but
Well, he's black in Kentucky. I can't remember his name, but according to John Cougar Mellencamp and Bill Maher, he's either an athlete or an entertainer, because he's black and successful. But this is the thing. Mitch McConnell and Dianne Feinstein are out of it. I mean, they're more out of it than Ruth Bader Ginsburg was. Okay. And both of them are Chinese assets. We talk about this a lot. Dianne Feinstein had over 20 years, she had a Chinese spy as her personal assistant and driver. Okay, and who knows? And Mitch McConnell, Mitch McConnell is married to his Chinese intelligence handler, Elaine Chao. Okay, and this tells, and they're both assets of China, and there's some good news out of this craziness with these two. To me, it tells me that China, as much influence as they have in the government because they got Biden and others, the number of Washington politicians that China controls is smaller than you might think. They don't have anyone to plug into McConnell or Dianne Feinstein's spot.
and find some more.
Well, this has been going on for a while. So, if the Chinese had new assets that they could get into those seats, Feinstein and McConnell, they would have them. They wouldn't have these people up there because the incidents that they're having are so bad, the public could call on their resignation. And if China had somebody to plug in there that they could control, these are senior senators. They have a lot of power and control. They have access to classified intel. but they also have a lot of control over not just how bills are voted on and how votes turn out. They have control over what bills come to the floor, too, both Feinstein and McConnell, because they're so senior. So these are very, very important assets to the Chinese. And yesterday, I mean, there should be no question. Mitch McConnell should resign immediately. I mean, he makes Fetterman look coherent. He really does. I mean, it's frightening to me, Steve. And the things that are going on in this country today are things that we just can't imagine. Now, oh, yeah. So next week is a big week. Yeah. So on Wednesday is the arraignment of President Trump in Fulton County, Georgia. Okay. And that's, now we don't have any word on if he's going to be there in person or not. We don't know that, but that's Wednesday next week. And then over next weekend, not this weekend, not Labor Day weekend, but next weekend, he has a rally. And so he's going to have his arraignment in the courtroom, which will be televised. Now, he may not be there in person. He could do it on Zoom. I hope he goes in person. I think he'd like to do it in person myself. So we've got the Trump arraignment on Wednesday, and then over the weekend after the arraignment, we have the first post-mugshot, post-arraignment rally. And that should be fantastical. You know, yesterday on Truth Social, see, President Trump, his campaign is going out full. Have you heard about his videos on Truth Social yesterday, Steve?
Oh.
President Trump posted 31 videos to Truth Social yesterday about different issues. 31. And I mean, I haven't even been able to go through them all. There's so many. So I don't know, maybe we'll play them again on another day. But I mean, he is really going hardcore on the campaign. And Ron DeSantis, he did this week what he's good at, being governor of Florida. And he's great in disaster planning and relief, because he's done it. You know, if you've seen these press conferences with Ron DeSantis the last couple days, he knows what he's talking about. In Florida, we did well during the storm. And the area that got hit is an area that typically doesn't get hit hard with hurricanes, that little bend into the panhandle. And he's on television. He's doing a good job, although he looks clinically depressed to me, Ron DeSantis. I saw him yesterday. Who? Well, they blew it. They were going to be president and first lady in 2028. They had the golden ticket. They had the winning Powerball, and they blew it. And yesterday I saw DeSantis in a press conference about the hurricane, and he sounded great and all, and then he turned it over to like the head of the emergency management guy, whatever that guy was, and then he went and stood behind him. And DeSantis just had a blank stare on his face, like he was somewhere else. You know, and it's just, ever since that Iowa State fair, Ron DeSantis has not been the same. He's just not been the same, because he realized when they started booing him everywhere he went at the Iowa State fair, it's been a down ever since. And, you know, he's depressed because he blew his political future, right? He's unelectable forever. You know what? My wife had an idea for him. If he could, Charlie Kirk made a very good suggestion. He should drop out, endorse Trump, and donate all of his campaign funds to hurricane disaster relief. I think that's a pretty good idea. He could save some face doing that. But my wife's suggestion is that he's so good handling these disasters, because he is. Make him head of FEMA. Trump could make him he could endorse Trump. We don't trust him to be vice president or anything like that. But he could shine if he was the head of FEMA under Trump. And I could live with that. To get him to endorse Trump, forget about everything. I'd forget about everything and make him the head of FEMA. All right.
Presidential discussions and all that are starting to heat up now. They're obviously in a new phase. That's what.
Yeah.
You start talking seriously about who would enhance the ticket, and when they start ending up, if we take this guy's votes and this guy's votes.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close.
The VP is not going to be any of these jokers in the Republican debate right now, I predict. None of them. You can automatically take off Pence and Chris Christie, right? And Asa Hutchinson. You can take those three out. So who are we left with? DeSantis, Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, and there's that one guy whose name I don't know. I always forget that one guy's name. I can't remember his name. All right, if you can remember his name, let me know. Not a good sign. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Mike at Sunrise.
Mike and Sunrise, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Quick question. I have a cousin in California, Trump hater, and he just texted me something about the Inflation Reduction Act that DeSantis has rejected. Do you know anything about that?
I don't know about him. The Inflation Reduction Act, that's a Biden thing. The inflation well, tell your buddy in California, the Inflation Reduction Act, what it actually does is causes inflation to increase. Because what is cheaper now because of that?
Nothing's cheaper.
That's right, especially in California.
He's saying that the $350 million that DeSantis refused because, I guess, I don't know why, but that's easy.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to criticize anyone for turning down crooked Biden money. I don't know that that's true or not, but I do know this. Prices have gone up, not down. So I think they misspoke, and it was a typo. I think it was the Inflation Increase Act that Biden was pushing. I think that's what it was. I think it was just a typo because he's so checked out. All right, listen, guys, we're out of time for today. If you're on hold, hang in there. You can hold on. You'll be first in line if you hang on for tomorrow's show. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here, and I mean this from my heart. I mean that. I would not say this if I did not mean it. I'm not being sarcastic. The quality of the calls on today's show has been incredibly elevated. Okay, maybe because we didn't hear from any liberal jerks. I don't know, but every single call today, except Richie's, has been thoughtful, interesting, and added a lot to the conversation. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane, of course, is here. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. God bless Donald Trump.
WWNN Pompano Beach, WIRK HD3 Indiantown. Programming paid for by...
All right, guys, I'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.